Hey everyone. We're live here with Louis Le Vau, the all-time hero of blood pressure. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Just sitting here drinking Pepsi, and I'm afraid it's not Coke. I'm trying to unite the world with Pepsi. I'm drinking Pepsi,
How about the
Pepsi and Jim
OJ?
Beam.
Yeah, you usually have OJs when you go live, right?
It's either screwdrivers or I have some Venezuelan rum, or I got some Jim Beam that I mix with either Coke or
Yeah, because it's always like,
root beer.
okay, right now, it starts off nice, and then it's like at the end of the.
Then it gets sloppy towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a favorite of the last part. That's the best part.
The problem is that like especially if I have one too many before I get going, it's just like at some point I kind of just break down and go into like an autistic fit of rage for about 10 minutes
That's the
on like
best
one
part.
issue.
That's what I love. Always the best part when you get mad. Fuck, you should always get mad. Fuck, can I like send you mad pills so you always get mad
No,
in your
dude, I
videos?
don't need it. I'm gonna have like an ulcer by the time I'm 34, bro. I don't need any help there.
I know, but that's just the best part. I love it so much. Fuck, that's the best part.
All right,
So,
let me link this out to people. Give me a second to actually share this out. But is there anything in particular that you want to talk about? Anything?
well, I mean, we had those. We're talking about those articles that you had that you wanted to show. Um,
Oh, the ones about Japan.
right, right. Otherwise, I mean, people listening to this is not a super serious stream. We just decided we wanted to go live right now, so
Mm-hmm.
don't expect anything serious. So,
No, this is very fucking serious. All right,
oh yeah,
I'm taking this seriously. I don't know about you. Fucking over here slacking off.
no, I'm totally just jerking your dick right now.
Did some guy just give you $50 in live chat?
Holy shit. Okay, I've got to go and open the live chat thingy then. Um,
Yeah,
how do I do that?
it's I can tell you. It's basically where it shows the stream under events,
Right.
that tab, and then it should pop if you refresh it. It should pop up and show like control, like live event control. That should give it the option to take a look at super chats.
All right, let's see here.
Should be under events, under live streaming. But yeah, I'll pick some article that I was gonna say for something. Yeah, I just got like the only thing that I have pretty much saved, like I have like a list of bookmarks that I've saved to talk about shit, and it's
Mhm.
basically like how half of these are like how the fucking Democratic Party is screwed. Half of them are articles talking about how corporate America is awesome, and then there's a whole shitload about Japan, and then there's a whole shitload about basically how the Democratic Party is fucked. And that's been a long video that I've been like saving for, but haven't actually delivered on yet because
Right, right. Well,
there's a lot of evidence to see that the Democratic Party is fucked.
I mean, obviously, you don't have to fuck your future videos, but if you
No,
have
I don't
anything,
care.
if you have anything that we could look at, that would be awesome.
All right.
But don't fuck up your future videos. That's
Um, yeah. Let me. There's. Yeah, there's actually some. I'll save that for another stream. There's some back and forth that happened. It was like some day last week, or maybe in the past week. I forget which day it was, but there was some article that was actually delivered by the LA Times where they basically did an actual story. Like they actually researched and did a story, and it was about Disney. And Disney basically, it was about how they were buying
okay. Just hold on
Anaheim.
1 second
Yeah.
because now I found my own stream here. So I'm just gonna thank the Invisible Raptor for saying, "My man, undoomed. Keep doing what you're doing." Thank you very much. Um, I fucking can't find that thing in the actual settings things, but I found my own stream here. So yeah. Uh,
It's there. Might have to refresh your page though, but
I should do this more often.
yeah, you get used to it after a few times. That's my experience. But
Yeah.
let me I'll find the article about Japan just because it's interesting.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What's beautiful about every fucking other like even what's funny is that I forget the name of the website. It's like Japan Times or something like that. That's actually owned by some Western company. Like I don't even remember which one it is, but what I love about it is that like every single I'm not gonna do the CNN one because it's fucking has a video on it.
Right.
Fuck you, CNN. Oh, here we go. Here's this is from Bloomberg. Um, Bloomberg. I just posted in the group chat. Uh, Japan is having an issue where they are having employers looking for more people to hire because right now Japan is on an economic upswing. They're actually doing well economically right now, and they have a lot of job vacancies. So what they need to do is hire more people. The problem is that if you have a job that doesn't pay well, that has a bad work environment, or is just not very attractive, it's part time, not full time. Japan employers are having a problem employing people. So even though you see economic growth and companies are doing well, they're having a problem employing people. So there's a better article than this one, but the issue that they're basically running into is that Japan is very anti-immigration, even though, as I ranted in my last stream myself, they appear to be very open-minded to the fact that they want to have fucking Mexicans flow over the border into the United States. They seem to be, for whatever reason, approving of that. But in terms of their own country, they're very, very much in favor of restricting immigration.
Right.
So,
they're progressive in other countries. You guys be progressive.
Right. So
we'll just be progressive from the sides.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but the thing is too is that it's beautiful about this is that everyone keeps telling me I'm wrong, but I'm not. I'll say it until it stops being true that Shinzo Abe, who's the prime minister of Japan, is a fucking corporatist. And if he had the power to do it, he would open the borders to Japan right fucking now. He'd do it in a second to bring in as many immigrants as he can because it would guarantee him re-election through donations. That is what he wants to do because, for fuck's sake, he named his economic plan after fucking Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan did the exact same thing as other presidents have done, is granted amnesty and brought in more immigrants to decimate fucking, the ability for the worker to have any power in the hiring process or in the workplace. And Shinzo Abe wants to do the exact same fucking thing. But the problem is that the Japanese public and the Japanese legislature does not want to see this happen. And guess who's a big supporter? It says it right in this fucking article. Guess who loves Shinzo Abe? Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
The IMF. Like,
of course.
You want to tell me I'm fucking wrong? Like, no. The fact is that these people realize that if they could tap into Japan by getting immigrants flowing over the borders, they could decimate the fucking working class and the ability for the worker to collectively bargain or even bargain at all within the workplace in Japan, and they could make a lot of fucking money off of the fact that Japan is doing very well right now.
And that is the truth. And here's my question. Why is it that the left wing is trying to destroy the working man? What is up with that?
Right? It depends on who you're talking about.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Japan or the U.S. The left is fucking up working class people, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely true about the West that I can say. And one of the issues is that you have two things.
They supposed to be the working class party.
Right, but that changed. I mean, that stopped being true in, I'm not even sure when. I know that in the 70s, things got turned upside down. And it was pretty much after Ronald Reagan and when
No, but I mean, it was way later than that.
No. What I'm saying is that, like, the big thing that happened was that with the Democratic Party in the United States, which is generally ascribed to be left-wing, they got decimated in the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. It stopped with the defeat of George H.W. Bush and the rise of Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton changed American politics for the left wing in a major way. And what he did was that he kicked out a lot of the more staunchly partisan left wing people, and he brought in more corporate people and basically ascribed to them that they were centrist. That's my understanding of what he did. And so Bill Clinton actually was very effective as a politician, but what he did was he carried over the economics that were set in the late 70s, early 80s, into the 80s, and basically just called that centrist politics. And so if you want to say who actually fucked the left as it relates to the idea of corporatism and the real damage that has been done because of globalization and any kind of criticism of even globalization, not saying get rid of it completely, but just criticism of it, Bill Clinton is the guy that really changed the game and has made any criticism of the status quo as something either racist or basically socialist. Like, that is what has happened to our country, because centrism in the minds of the political establishment and the media is corporatism. That is centrism to them, and that is what they ascribe to at all times.
Yeah, it seems like they've figured out the perfect way to silence anyone with that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's crazy, because they used to have the workers back, but now it's just fuck it.
No, and there's an article.
No one's looking out for the working guy. No one.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That was the real upset with Trump. Was Trump won Wisconsin and other states that he shouldn't have, really.
Sure, because he was the only. No, but that's the thing, right? Because he was the only guy who's paying attention. He didn't really do anything. He just mentioned their name. Yeah. That was it, and that was enough. Oh my God! Someone actually knows that we exist. That was it. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that it's when people say, because I've had people say to me that are more conservative or Trump supporters say that if it was Bernie Sanders against Donald Trump, that it would have been a landslide or whatever. And I say, no, I think that Paul Joseph Watson just said it recently, that it would have been very fucking close, because you would have had two completely anti-establishment and seemingly pro-worker and anti-status quo in terms of economics. And it would have very much, I think, I couldn't imagine what would have happened as a result of that. But I would say that because Trump won, it's put a lot of people, including many Republicans, on the back foot, because they don't know what is actually going to change. And they also have to accept that that Queen Hillary, essentially, the person that was guaranteed to win the White House, that Huffington Post poll, 99% to 1% chance, that the person that should have won lost in a way that was not exactly close. I mean, it wasn't a blowout because of the popular vote, but in terms of the Electoral College, Hillary Clinton didn't do that well. And so now, if you're in the real world, you basically have to ask the question, well, then how do you win? Because it doesn't matter how many fucking, votes you get out of California or New York City. It doesn't matter. You need the Electoral College to win.
Right. And hold up. I just got to do some super chat here. Hi, Mitch. Top 10 greatest anime crossovers. I have no idea. Do you have any answer to that?
Oh, yeah. It's just a common meme of people hanging out and shit, and that's fine by me. I mean, I'm sure they didn't expect us to be streaming out of nowhere.
All right. Obviously, Mitch is a great guy, so thanks, Mitch.
Yep.
Annie Anonymous sent $1 for no message, and then did it again for $5. So, all right.
Good.
Thanks. And then
a few words.
Exactly. The Invisible Raptor is back. Whoop whoop. For $50. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Dude. Thank you very much. Jesus.
Bourgeois cunt, man.
That is, yeah. Bourgeois. That's bourgeois as fuck. Go bourgeois.
It is. Yeah. And now we're in favor of the status quo on the bourgeoisie. Just to let you know, keep that money coming, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's a fucking selfish bitch. That's the way
Yeah.
it is. Psychotic Cognition says, hey, love you, Louis, and Undoomed can give you a young visual effects artist advice. All right. Well, go ahead. I'm not sure what that means. Please give me your visual effects advice. I'm always actually that I'm not even being sarcastic. I'm always looking for people who are talented with the visual arts because that's what I do for a living. So hit me up on Twitter if you have any awesome stuff to show me. All right. I cut this thing off, so let's go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to. I mean, I could go on forever, pretty much, but
yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, it's just getting back to the fact that I mean, one of the things that I bring up all the time, and I've seen this reported from even left-wing outlets at this point. I'll bring up an article right now, and I can link you to this. People in the know are aware of the fact that, and by the way, the Republicans are not better off. I know people want to celebrate this, but the Republicans are also split. It's just, it's a lot quieter right now, and I think that it really could otherwise be if all it takes is for some kind of moment where some in power establishment Republican fucks over Trump in some big way, and let's say he blocks the wall money. Like the wall money comes in a bill, and it's like, oh man, it's going to happen, and then this establishment Republican blocks it and filibusters it, prevents it from being passed, and then basically the Senate or Congress goes on vacation. That happens, boom, there's your watershed moment. It's a big moment. Then the Republican Party splits up. But as it relates to the Democratic Party is in incredible dire straits.
Yeah.
And the people will say that the last election that happened, I think on the 7th, which I actually thought about doing a video. I'm not sure if I want to do it on because it's really not that big of a deal. But the victories they picked up showcased a few things, and that is that the Republicans are pretty weak, but it's a battle between two basically imbeciles that are incredibly feeble. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the battle. And the Democratic Party in the long run is not in good shape, even in demographics. That's been like when I was in college, the big assertion, like the duh statement that one would make. And I wrote papers on this, so I know what I'm talking about here.
Right.
Published 2 articles on this topic with journals, that the power of the Democratic Party is not ideological. It's not in one person. It's not in anything other than demographics. And this article that I just sent you is the fact that the Democratic Party is now losing demographics in a way that it hasn't in my lifetime. And
but I mean, obviously, why are they not looking out for the working guy? Right?
Well, that's the thing. They don't think they need to. They think that they can get out there and just say, oh, I'm in favor of black people. I'm in favor of Mexicans. You know, that's what, like, they want black people. They want Hispanics. They want everyone to think of themselves as this block because that's exactly how they want them to vote.
I know, but anyone who can do math knows that is not going to work. So how are they thinking?
It's the power of money, in my opinion. So
you're saying that it's just corporatism?
Well, it's basically like what happens. Like if I come to you, and let's say you're making a meager earning, and you're trying to break into politics instead of graphic design or what you do,
right?
And you're trying to break into politics, and somebody comes up to you and they pay you $100,000 a year, and they say, all I want you to do is go on television, go consult politicians, go talk to party members, and just say over and over and over again that this one strategy is what we need to do and that this works. And that's the problem. And you saw this with the fact that the Democratic Party was broke. That was one of the big things from down in Brazil. Democratic Party's broke. Why is it broke? They're paying these consultants to do fucking nothing.
Right.
like it's one big issue of having a party that literally pays yes men to tell themselves that they're right about fucking everything. And it sounds insane, but that literally appears to be the case of what is wrong with the Democratic Party, and the fact that there's so much money wrapped into it that no one actually wants to admit that they're not capable of winning in this way. And I can tell you no greater example of just living here in New York and talking with people just in politics around here. It's like, you know, if you don't genuflect, if you don't say immediately and bow your head to Hillary Clinton, despite the fact that she's a serial fucking loser, you're not in politics. You're not in politics in this state if you don't say that Hillary Clinton is your woman. And it's like, well, why would she be? She's a fucking loser.
I love that word though, genuflect. Jesus, that's
yeah. It's total submission.
Yeah,
like the way that one would
it
submit
sounds sort
themselves
of
to Islam.
like
You submit yourself to Hillary Clinton.
I just thought of that, like fucking Islam, right?
Yeah, it's very similar in terms of mindset. Like you can't question anything, and there's so many people. And Fox News has them on all the time. They'll bring on all these different fucking weakling pundits to just repeat talking points. And obviously, if you're a right-wing pundit, that helps you because it makes the opposition look stupid. But the problem is that, like, that's the cream of the fucking crop, man. They're not bringing in activists because that would be harder, but the activists aren't being paid by the DNC. It's all these fucking people in suits.
I know.
They just rattle off talking points.
I mean, it doesn't really matter if we're left wing or right wing because I've sort of switched back and forth throughout my life.
Oh yeah.
And one thing I've really understood, at least in my later years, is that I want the opposite side to be really strong because that makes my side better, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which side I'm on because the opposite side really needs to be there to fucking hound my guys because otherwise they'll just slack off and do whatever they want and just fucking take all the money and
right. Yeah, you want the opposition. You want your opponent to be a challenge because otherwise you just become like a fat lazy fuck who doesn't actually know how to win and how to do well, and if you're even right.
And you know, even if you're just winning all the time, you want those fuckers to hound you. You want those fuckers to make sure, they're not just stealing the money, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that one of the big things that, and I know that there's a lot of conservatives that even follow me that would agree with this, that one of the real problems is that you have the Democratic Party who would simulate the left, and you have the Republican Party who would simulate the right, but the problem is that they agree on way too much. They agree on way too much, and they never fucking admit it. You know, that's the whole thing with identity politics, and especially issues like abortion or guns or other such thing as that, is they want there to be a divide. They want there to be this thing of, oh, you know, we're in favor of abortion, so you better be out there talking about being pro-life and being a proud Christian. Oh, you know, there's people out there getting massacred. You better be anti-gun. You better be in favor of gun control. Like, they want people to think along those lines because there's no impasse. There's no way to meet.
But only those things, because those things are really things that people can talk about.
The thing is too is they're tertiary issues. They're tertiary issues. Like even if you're the most pro, like if you're a very hardcore gun enthusiast, someone that understands case law like I do, it is incredibly fucking hard to have federal restrictions placed on firearms now, because any bill that you're going to create is going to be challenged. It is potentially going to be seen by the Supreme Court because of the case law and the precedents that exist now. So any fucking bill that somehow finds its way through Congress and is signed by the president, it's going to be challenged no matter what it is.
Right.
So the idea that like gun control is somehow going to happen is a fucking pipe dream. And that includes the people on the left, or conceivably on the left, the authoritarian left, who think that gun control is somehow going to save America. It's like, yeah, except for the fact that we have an individual right established by the Supreme Court and also included written in the Constitution through the Bill of Rights that we have a right to own a firearm. So you're not going to really change shit either there. So it's but that's the thing, is that you want there to be that divide, so that way you have people.
Well, they want that to be. to be there.
That's what the parties want.
I mean, they want you to look at this. It's sort of like the guy behind the curtain. Don't look at this. Don't look at this now.
Here's the thing, though. Foreign policy, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Government surveillance, mass surveillance, exactly the same. Immigration, exactly the same. There's a number of ways that the Democratic Party establishment and the Republican Party establishment are precisely the same. And it's in ways, ultimately, that benefit a very small group of people. And it's mostly defense contractors, people on Wall Street, investors, and anyone that wants to maximize their dividend and invest in a return on investment. And it doesn't matter whether it's in the private sector, the public sectors, they don't fucking care. It's not about debating socialism or capitalism. It's about, I put X amount of money, through a broker into this company. I want my goddamn money back with interest, with more than I put in.
That's the thing, right? It's not about fucking socialism or anything. It's just, these are like two different teams. It's like fucking football teams. Which one do you like? You like this one, you like that one. Nothing's going to change.
It's even worse. It's even worse than that because it's a lot like boxing, except for both people in the ring are fucking pathetic and no one likes them.
And they're both bought. They're both bought.
Yeah, they're both bought. You don't even know who's paid to lose. They're both bought.
Oh, fuck. All right.
The positive side of this, as I said to you before we started the stream, the positive is that the worse the Republican Party is and the worse the Democratic Party is, and the Democratic Party right now is very fucking weak, that if the progressives, and people like me are already gone, but if the progressives finally do what they've needed to do and just pull out, and just basically like you have D. Ray McKesson and Sean King and all the fucking like sellout cocksuckers, like the progressive sellouts, they'll always stay within the Democratic Party because they're sellouts, they're for the money. But if you have the true progressives basically say, fuck this, we're done, we're out, and they start a third party or they go to the Green Party in a real way, the fucking Democratic Party is going to fall apart. Because if you don't have activists within a political party, you're nothing. You're just non-existent.
Right.
And same goes for the Republican Party. The issue is Republicans. I would say that there's a number of issues with the Republican Party, and number one right now is immigration. That's the big difference.
Well,
any Republican that is weak on immigration is basically treated as a total basically, the problem with the right that I find is basically, rather than do what I do, which is default to you're a sellout, you're a corporatist, you're just there to make money, that's your ideology, you just want make money for yourself and your friends.
Right.
For whatever reason, a lot of people on the right will go leftist. You're a leftist. That person's a leftist. That senator's a leftist. And it's like, what? Like, how do you go from they're bought, they're a leftist? What?
Well, that's not an argument.
No, it may be true for certain Republicans, but the thing is that, like, it depends on what the issue is. Like, are they a leftist on every single fucking issue across the board? Probably fucking not.
Yeah, but I mean, show me where they're a leftist. What are you talking about? I don't get it.
It's just a problem with assuming, like, they're just too. I would say that it's not true definitely for every conservative, but there's a lot of conservatives that don't make the distinction between the idea of somebody being bought versus somebody being an ideological opponent.
But that's the problem, at least according to me. Like, people are fucking bought.
Yeah.
That is the fucking problem.
Yeah. Well, it also includes
what does it matter if
here's the hang up. Here's the hang up though. Right. Ben Shapiro especially is very bad on this. Where basically when people talk about money in politics and they talk about people being bought, on the left generally it's a duh. It's a they're all bought, they're all there for the money, they're all in the rest, and the answer is, well, how do we get money out of politics? And you could disagree with the method, but with Ben Shapiro just says, no, we want money in politics. We want people getting money. This is natural. This is how politics should be. And money is speech. And it's like, okay, so that way no one's corrupt then. No one's corrupt. No one can conceivably be corrupt then. I can go hand my politician $100, $1,000, $1,000,000. They can give me a contract on behalf of the government. That's not corruption, Ben Shapiro, because money is speech. And
I don't agree with that.
That's a real problem on the right, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
They really have a problem with understanding that the private sector and the public sector are distinct. And this is very serious. And the fact is that this government every single goddamn year gives out trillions of dollars in contracts. And money in politics is a major problem because of that. We have money going into entities like the Pentagon that fucking disappear. Trillions of dollars disappear. They don't know where it goes. It just disappears. And they have reports coming out saying, yeah, by the way, it's trillions of dollars missing. We don't know where it went.
Trillions of dollars.
Trillions of dollars. Don't
ridiculous.
Ask. Don't ask us where it went.
Tell.
Yeah, just trust us, though. Trust us. Everything's good.
It's there somewhere, in the basement.
We'll find it. Don't worry. So the issue
Jesus Christ.
So the issue there is that you have to accept the idea because of that issue that to some degree you can't ascribe that to the left wing. You can't ascribe that to be ideological. You can't ascribe that to the opposition. It's something that you are also responsible for, and you have to accept in terms of you being responsible for it happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be the disconnect with at least people with people in conservatives like Ben Shapiro, where they have this idea that I guess that you just elect better people. But it's like, well, maybe that's true to the individual, but the problem is that we've had decades.
That's naive. I'm totally with you on the corporate thing. That's fucking shit. These people just need to not buy the entire government.
Yeah. Well, the real danger is not like if the debate was between Ben Shapiro and I can't say that I'm perfectly representing his position, but I've listened to him talk about this a few times, and it was just I was blown away by the things that he said in that regard. But on the issue itself, I would be far more accepting of the status quo in buying politicians in the way that exists now through super PACs and the rest because of the Supreme Court. I'd be fine with that if it were limited to national corporations. If it was Burger King as it once was, or McDonald's as it once was, or hundreds of companies as they once were just purely as American corporations, I'd have less problems with it. But the issue is now we live in a globalized economy. We live in a world economy. We live in an economy where foreign governments, foreign corporations, and governments that exist, or corporations that exist in our own country that are otherwise foreign, that have entities and subsidiaries all over the world. If they're even based in the country, we don't even know, because they can be headquartered elsewhere. As I talked to you in the live, you don't know where the money's coming from. You don't know what the interests are. You don't know what the fuck is going on, but you do know that they're pouring millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars into the campaigns.
I didn't. Did you read the stuff about Apple and their tax havens and all?
Oh, that's not at all surprising. I said they're one of the most profitable corporations in the world, if not the most profitable, as far as I know.
Probably the most in the entire world. And Jesus Christ, we're talking about they're just minting money.
One of the things it's funny to watch is that people like Tucker Carlson have realized that so much of Silicon Valley, including Apple and other tech companies, are ideological. And so there's now an ideological imperative on his behalf that we now have corporations acting as political entities, and they are not going to support the right wing. And so now this has actually become a problem. And the thing is, though, he's one of the people talking about it.
Isn't that probably what they thought they were doing? Like, money is free speech, and they figured, okay, every corporation is going to be right wing, and they were like, holy shit, what happened? Right? Well,
I would say if you want to give people that lean towards more like very laissez-faire capitalism, if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, it would be that, well, corporations are just interested in return on investment and maximizing profit and providing a better product, which is, in my opinion, laughable. So they're not going to actually get engaged in ideology. I would say that it was perhaps a short-sightedness on their part, that they don't realize that companies, even if you have shareholders that keep upper management on a short leash to some degree,
Hmm.
you will have investors in some companies where they appear to be non-existent, where you'll just see companies making mistakes constantly and making themselves divisive and have bad PR, but for whatever reason, they just keep getting away with it. Starbucks is no better example. Like, they've had 100,000 PR disasters, and they continue. They nothing has stopped them, and they're a publicly traded company as far as I'm aware. So it just
Oh
begs the
yeah.
question, like, why wouldn't the shareholders say, like, listen, can you stop with the fucking ideological shit? Can you just stop, because it's not helping? But they keep going. So that's the
Yeah,
thing, is that, like,
obviously that's some sort of imperative for a corporation. I
yeah.
don't understand it, but obviously it is.
And
Right.
one of the weird things is going to be, as you said earlier about the left and being terrible on the issue, is that, I mean, how many different conservative pundits are we going to be out? Are we going to have at one point talking about, breaking up corporations, breaking up media corporations, breaking up trust, talking about bringing,
Yeah, I've thought about
mergers to
that.
the Justice Department? It's
I
just like,
mean, seriously,
what world have we entered in?
seriously. Like, I remember when I was younger, there was a big scare about Microsoft being broken up.
Oh,
Remember
dude,
that?
that's chicken shit compared to today. You have no clue, dude. Microsoft was so small compared to now. They're so
I
much
know.
bigger now.
Yeah, yeah, but I know. But where's that thing? Do we have any scare about anyone being broken up? No,
No. Well, the thing
no
is,
one cares. No one dares.
the question is, like, the issue is with the Republican Congress is that they are left in this uneasy position where, and I've seen a bunch of different conservatives talk about this, where they are basically paralyzed in that they don't know which way to turn, because if they do too much from their perspective, they'll make it an easy means for the Democrats to come back in 2018 or 2020. But the thing is that, like, you know, at some point you actually have to do something, because if you allow these companies that exist now, that are massive, that are monopolies, easily distinguishable as monopolies, that are
Mhm.
also ideologically opposed to you specifically, at some fucking point you have to do something. You have to act, just even in your own self-interest, because you're talking about companies that are so large, that are so globalized, that are so over the world, that it would be nothing to spend a $10 million on a campaign to raise for your opponent. Be nothing to them, nothing to raise $10 million
Yeah,
to get your
nothing.
opponent who's just
Absolutely
going to come
nothing.
in and suck their dick all day.
Of
And
course, I mean,
and you're the
I
person
mean,
in the power now to do something about it,
even
but you don't do
even
anything.
even a number like that is ridiculous. It's like not even 10 billion would be
No,
anything.
we're talking about an individual race, and I can tell you that that was the story that I talked about from the LA Times, where the LA Times actually did an investigative story where Disney in Anaheim was basically just buying elections, just basically like, yeah, we want this guy because he's going to be in favor of us, so we're just going to give him
Right.
way more money than his opponent, and they win every time. And it's
Hmm.
not true in every single campaign. There have been prominent campaigns where the person with more money spectacularly lost. A good example is Donald Trump, but that's not the example. It's Eric Cantor, I think it was, versus somebody else who's former
Yeah,
speaker.
of course. Sometimes people just vote the other way. That's the way
Yeah,
it is. But most of the time, they follow the advertising.
yeah. They because most people are politically apathetic,
Right.
and they're just afraid of dipping their toe in the water, because they just find either politics to be frustrating or boring. And
Right.
the people that find it boring, I have less tolerance with, because I think that, if you care about your country in any way, you do have to be engaged in some ways. But I do sympathize with the people that find politics to be incredibly frustrating, because when you basically come accustomed to the fact of, like, lying is just second nature. It's just like, everyone's going out there with their talking points on a daily basis, and you basically have to expect people to lie and just not get upset like I do. I mean, even with
Yeah,
myself, like
fuck.
I don't get upset with just like even just general obfuscation or lying. Like it doesn't even bother me
But
because
if you didn't get upset, we wouldn't get those great videos.
well, it's just examples of where I still hold out hope that they should be better than how they are. And Bernie Sanders was one of the examples of somebody I thought would be above
Right,
the kind
right.
of shit that he has done. And even with him now, it's really a mystery where his heart actually lies because
That's
it.
interesting. I mean, do you think he actually ever were a socialist?
I would say that he ascribes some nebulous idea of what's of like democratic socialism is in his own
Hmm.
mind. Like I honestly don't think that he really understands the subject matter that well. And I don't say this from any
And,
point of arrogance, but I'm just saying that from the point of watching him speak about the subject and
and
cite
that's
nations
sad.
where he
Yeah.
cites nations that basically have released statements from the government itself saying, yeah, by the way, we're not socialist. We don't know what you're talking about. And that's the issue is that I don't think it's Bernie Sanders
Right,
lying. I
right.
think it's Bernie Sanders not understanding like what socialism even is.
Yeah, I remember that. What was that country?
I think it might have been Scandinavia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like, yeah, we want to have Scandinavian socialism. And they're like, dude, we're not socialists,
Yeah,
by the
we're actually
way.
really not socialists. We're pretty fucking free market here. And that's the thing is that I like the thing is you can attribute him trying to obfuscate or lie, but the thing is that I don't think he really understood what it actually is. And I don't like people ascribed him to be a communist. Like I don't think he is. I really don't think that he's even much of a
Yeah.
socialist. I just think that he has these nebulous ideas of what socialism would be, and that he generally
Yeah,
would like to
but
address things
exactly.
from
And
a different perspective.
that's kind of sad because then you're left with either he's dumb or he's lying. Like,
Well, it depends on the topic. That's the issue with politics is that if you take an individual, you can have Bernie Sanders who can say something, and you have to basically ask yourself, okay, is he saying something because he actually believes it, or is he saying something because he's just trying to put it out there to move to the next point or move to the next question? For example, in the debates when he dropped that line about white people don't know what it's like to be poor, that a lot of people associated a lot of onus to him because they said that that was him just making the point about that. But
mhm.
actually, if you look at it, it was within the context of Hillary Clinton going on like a 5 minute virtue signaling. Black people are the fucking proletariat. Bernie Sanders, you don't fucking get that, and him firing back with that. And so
Right,
I would
right.
say that was him trying to uh, shoot past the mark, and he went way too far, and it stuck with him as like a very uh, uh, you could attribute it as either a bad belief or just a misstatement. I attribute it as a misstatement on that point. But the video I did where I got extremely mad at him because he talked to some race hustlers, ultimately, people that are professional race baiters,
Yeah.
talking about how we need to have equal outcome in our country, and he stamps his name right on it. And it's like, all right, there, I can't say that you're making a misstatement. You know who the fuck you're talking to. You know who you're fucking talking to. You're talking to people who are dividing wealth in this country by race, who are deliberately not talking about Asians specifically because they know that if you bring up Asians, it completely destroys any fucking argument about race divides within the United States, at least on economic levels, because ultimately it becomes an issue of, well, are we going to start, like I say in the video and I get upset about it, it's more than one video. I say, okay, am I going to go through fucking Buffalo? Am I going to go through Detroit? And am I going to go through Baltimore? Am I going to start handing out condoms and job applications? Because that's half the fucking problem. Should I start doing that? Because that's the fucking problem. Like it's a lack of fucking effort. It's a lack of making good decisions. Asians come to this country from India and all over the rest of the world, make all the right decisions, do better than white people do by a staggering degree.
All right.
Why
So
is it other people can't do it? Yeah, go
hold
ahead.
up a second. I'm just gonna do a super chat here. JC, can you explain to me communism and how it works? Uh, no.
But it depends on what you mean by
Uh,
communism.
communism is really complicated Do you have a simple explanation for that?
It's a revolutionary. I guess that what they mean is like revolutionary or radical socialism, which is the concept of basically equal outcome in an economy. So you have a planned economy, and the
Yeah.
utopian version is basically, well, we'll have a state that will control the means of everything, and
I mean, yeah,
basically,
exactly. You have to control the means of production. That's a meme
right,
unto
right. But the,
itself.
the thing is that you control you create a totalitarian society that will devolve into anarchism, like the actual like political theorem of
Right, right.
anarchism.
And
That's
that,
the utopian concept. But the effective concept is you have all these revolutionary ideologues that say we want socialism and equal outcome, and they basically overthrow the government, and then people like Stalin shoot them in the back of the head and become dictators. And then they have a planned economy that eventually fails or changes to crony capitalism in the case of the Chinese. It's still a
yeah, yeah.
totalitarian system, though.
It always seems like whenever you want to have a revolution, it's always going to be a fucking dictatorship that has to keep on and keep on holding on to the power because yeah, obviously it's going to be unstable as fuck.
Oh yeah. Well, it depends on what kind of like a dictatorship. And this is actually one of the big divides when I was back in college talking about communism or fascism, is that fascism actually can exist in a system where you can have a dictatorship, and you saw this actually in the Middle East and other countries where it wasn't like it didn't supervise fucking everything all the time. So it wasn't it was authoritarian and it was draconian and it was
Hmm.
brutal, but it
Hmm.
wasn't all encompassing of everything. It wasn't totalitarian.
But was it
Nazism was.
but was it brought on by a revolution?
Yes, it always is. You have to overthrow the existing. I don't think there's ever been a fascist system or a communist system that has ever not
No,
been
no,
brought on by violence.
no, that's not true because obviously the Nazis in Germany were brought on without any revolution.
Maybe not, but there was fighting in the street for years.
Yeah,
You know,
sure. Fighting
I
in the
wouldn't.
streets is not the same thing as a revolution, though.
Yeah, I would call it a soft revolution because they had to effectively change the government in order for them to exist. I'd have to research more about
Well,
um
I'm
Italy in my mind is a weirder case. I'd have to look into Italy more, but in
yeah,
Spain, for example, Spain was a civil war.
I don't know too much about Italy, but I'm just talking about the way it happened in Germany. That was the scary part, wasn't it? That it just happened during natural
I wouldn't
democratic.
agree. I wouldn't agree with that. The Weimar Republic was a fucking shit show, and I would say that because the Nazis only won by a narrow margin, I wouldn't describe that to be like the sort of like George Lucas version of like, oh man, everyone one day is just gonna vote in the fucking
Mhm,
Nazis. Like
mhm.
as critical as I am towards like direct democracy, I wouldn't say that people would just wake up one day and vote in like the next Nazi
No,
party.
no,
Like
no. But yeah, they didn't though. I mean, he used the democratic tools to get into power. I'm
yeah,
not sure he actually had some sort of direct democracy vote. It was more
no, no,
like
no. That's not what I mean.
he used the actual tools put in place there to gain power, right?
Right, but it's under a system that's basically pushed to its limit. The Weimar Republic was extremely weak in terms of its the way that it was established and set up. And again, this is within the context of like communists and fascists fighting on the streets. So we're talking about basically, and also in an extreme economic recession where people
Right,
are
right.
like burning money for heat. So that's what I mean. Like it's definitely like you're not wrong in what you're saying, but the thing
Mm.
is with Weimar Germany and the rise of Hitler, um, people downplay how bad the situation was, and the fact that one of the big things that Hitler did was that he had to basically uh, get the I forget the name of the political party, but it basically was like a combination of like the monarchists and the business class. He basically had to make cut a deal with them to have them support him in order for him to win, because
Yeah,
one of
I
the
don't
big
remember
problems
that.
is,
Yeah.
but in any case, yeah, so you're technically right, but the thing is that I would say that was kind of a one-time thing. It'd be hard to replicate those kind of circumstances again.
Right, right. It doesn't really matter, but my point was that it doesn't have to be revolution. Sometimes people tend to sort of vote for revolution, as it were. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. Like with the vote, I would say that there's a disconnect. And I think one of the things that you can see with the Trump election is that there was a clear disconnect between the media class, who made him out to be Hitler,
Mm-hmm.
and the people on the ground that realized that, yeah, he may say some off-color things, but I don't expect him to go in
Well,
and be
I'm not
fucking
saying
Hitler.
that's a revolution, though. Obviously.
No, but what I'm saying is that, like, the United States, in my opinion, is it has, in terms of the voters, it has a clear Overton window of what is acceptable,
Right.
of who they will vote for and what they believe and what they'll stand for. And I would say that I do think that I trust that, because I don't think the American people would ever vote in somebody that they would expect to be incredibly radical. And if they were to do radical things, they would respond in kind and probably, likely, the next election not vote for them. And, I don't expect the United States to ever vote in anyone who's very radical, unless the United States was in a very bad set of circumstances. And I could see that happening, but it's only if certain things continue on their current trajectory, which I don't think they will.
No, I mean, Jesus, that'd be horrible.
Yeah, the only thing that I could ever see where the United States would be in a really bad spot would be if what we saw in 2007 was replicated, and we basically had another recession that was incredibly bad, and we
Right.
had no means to actually remedy it in the same way that we did before, where we just lent those industries money through the Federal Reserve, and people can say whatever they want to. It basically took us out of the recession. And
Sure, but how long can we keep doing that, though?
that's the thing is, I'm not an economist, but as far as I understand it, so long as people perceive the United States as a hegemon of the world, it's forever.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
but with China, that's
well,
not going to last forever.
that's the fucking the wild card is China, because
Right.
if they ever broke out and became, the big difference between China and the United States in terms, as far as I understand it, is sustainability in terms of the economy,
Hmm.
and also the other factors of hegemony, which is cultural, international relations, and military. And with China,
Wouldn't you
yeah, go
say
ahead.
that the military is the main point, though? Right.
No, it's in the 19th century and every century before then. Yes, in the modern century, economic is more important, because you can be the
Okay.
biggest military power in the world if you attack basically let's say, for example, China attacked the United States,
Hmm.
and we went to war. Every single fucking nation in this world that was invested in the United States would immediately see China as their enemy. And there would be no way in hell that every other nation would just, they would economically sanction and punish China to such a degree that they could not sustain
Sure, but
their military. They would collapse it.
nowadays, everyone is equally invested in the United States and China, so that wouldn't work.
That's I mean, that's a good point, and that's one of the real problems, and that's one of the big things that, it really calls into question certain people in power. And this is my opinion of like the real distinction of corporatism versus
Hmm.
anything else, is that if you do something and you directly benefit another nation at the expense of this nation, you know, you are somebody that is operating on a level of pure self-interest that I would say that is indistinguishable in any point in history. I can't imagine another point in history where a major politician could benefit a foreign nation and themselves at the direct expense of their home nation, and somehow run for office in this nation expecting themselves to be warmly received, such as Hillary Clinton and the uranium deal. And not just her, but every politician that's ever done something like that. And it's inconceivable.
Right.
I can't, I couldn't imagine at any point in history where somebody would do something like that and not be treated as a fucking traitor for the rest of their lives. Where I mean, this is the kind of shit where people would have to be exiled. They would be ostracized out of their own society. They'd leave because of what shame that kind of action would bring. But the problem is now that we live in a globalized world, and for whatever reason, there's a lot of people that just don't take it very seriously.
I mean, have you seen the latest shit? Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm just gonna have to do the super chat here.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you're the Japanese expert here. How do you pronounce this? Masishu.
Don't ask me about pronunciations because that's not gonna happen with me.
I'm only a small instigator, but I hope someday to grow up and be a big instigator like you, Papa Undoomed. Well, thank you very much for that. I hope you grow up and be a big instigator as well.
Run for office.
Yeah, run for office. Become Papa Trump. That's what you should do. Psychotic Cognition for $5 says China's economy is based on exports. We buy most of those exports in the United States economy. Let's see here. China's economy is based on exports. We buy most of those exports. Is the United States the most? What the fuck does it? Okay, I need to put on some glasses. We buy most of those exports. Is the United States economy collapses, so does if the United States economy collapses.
Well, it's not even that dire. I mean, that's a like, you're not wrong on that point, but the issue is that like the issue with China in terms of sustainability is that the big thing they have is fucking cheap labor and no standards. Right. Which is a one-trick pony. That's one thing you can do in terms of trade. But that takes them a long way, though. I mean, yeah, it does. I mean, that's the thing that's given them that boon. Like the boon that they have right now is definitely because of that. It's basically like having slaves. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Basically,
they have free labor.
But the issue is now is that they it's that, and that's what I mean in terms of sustainability, is that is not sustainable, and they see that already.
Sure.
And that's been one of the big things, is that they're now investing a lot of fucking money in trying to change their economy because they realize that they can't keep doing what they're doing forever. And once once it hits the point where they can't.
That's really when sustainability just takes a new turn, isn't it? When even China starts investing in fucking robots, what are going to happen to us human beings?
I think automation is something that a lot of people are ascribing, but I think it's a bluff, in my opinion. I see a lot of it's becoming a fucking duh, and I've seen this before, and so I'm gonna call the bluff. I'm gonna say build the fucking robots. Go ahead, do it.
It doesn't matter; they're gonna get built.
Doesn't matter. Build them now. Build them now, then.
Yeah. Right. Right. Okay.
Go do it. Why don't they build them in Japan? Japan's got a labor shortage. Build the fucking robots. Where are they?
Well, I mean, they're going to get built. It doesn't matter what we say.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay, I didn't realize that. But this is what I mean. It's like I'm calling the bluff, man. I think this is investor bullshit. Okay. This is fucking. Oh man, you better not tell us to change things, or we're going to build robots.
Okay, so, all right. So you're okay. I get you. So you're saying that it's basically a thing to keep the worker in place.
Oh yeah. This is what I mean. They've done this before. They've done this before, and I'm telling you, like, that all of a sudden, out of the fucking blue, there's just all of this talk of automation. The second Trump walks into the White House, everyone's talking about automation. Oh, you don't need to deport people. We're just going to have automation enemies anyway. So why bother? Why bother deporting people? We're going to have fucking automation anyways. Why bother doing anything? We're going to have automation anyways. Bullshit. I'm calling the bluff. Build the robots. Do it now.
Yeah, I mean, Well, obviously, right now it's not going to happen, and I'd sure like to see a Burger King robot. That'd be awesome.
Well, the fact is that they can do it, but it's limited. The technology is fucking limited, and they know it, and that's why it's a bluff.
Oh yeah, but wouldn't it be great though? Not having to have all those people snotting in your fucking food and.
Well, they'd have to invent the technology for that to be possible. But the thing is that from
It can't be that hard. It can't be that hard.
I've read articles basically from a few from Bloomberg and a few other outlets where they talk about this issue specifically, and they always slant it from this perspective of like, oh my god, like this is tomorrow. This is 5 minutes from now. This is here today. It's here. It is. You know, if you ever want to complain about what your salary is, with me being an investigator, I'm going to be replaced by a fucking drone tomorrow. And it's like, I don't think so. I think you're full of shit because they show the examples of what they're talking about, and it's like, yo, this is pathetic.
I know, but stupid. Have you ever heard about a physicist called Max Tegmark?
Not offhand.
Okay, he's one of those guys that usually show up in PBS documentaries and BBC documentaries, right?
Okay.
About things that are like quantum, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
And he's written this book about how we're actually going to get our minds replaced by computers or artificial intelligence. So
considering.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying he's right. I'm
right.
I'm saying he's full of shit. I'm saying he's full of shit. But there's this whole thing pushing down on us, trying to just convince us that computers and machines are better than us. They're going to take over.
Oh yeah, man.
And there's all these huge names in science and entertainment, and they're just pushing down this idea that we are shit and we're all going to get replaced by machines.
Right. Well, the thing is that one of the things that I find adorable, like that guy, I would say, not in terms of him doing science, but what he's doing there is being a futurist, where he tries to predict
like Kurzweil, right?
Is going to go. And the beauty of that is that if you look in the past at the people of a long time ago, basically trying to ascribe where we would be technologically today, in some small ways they're right, and in some ways they're very coincidentally very scary in terms of right, but in most ways they're completely fucking wrong. And one of the things that I would ask the guy is, okay, as far as I know, in terms of research of the mind, of the brain, of consciousness, it's like fucking where we were in the Stone Age. That's where we are now. Like, it's barely existent. So you're telling me that, and how long are we talking about? 1,000 years that we're going to have our brains are going to be turned into fucking, or consciousness is going to be somehow derivative into fucking machines? Like, how is it even conceivable?
Those guys are talking about 30 years.
Well, then they're full of fucking shit. Then they're masturbating about fucking AI. I mean, that's the typical. Like,
exactly.
I'm a bourgeois public intellectual. Let me talk to you about AI. It's like, oh man, here we go.
Why do they have this hard on for AI?
Because they realize they have the idea that it actually holds a lot of potential and could basically destroy the earth. And it's like, and that basically, it's very scary and very exciting, and that's why they themselves actively want to talk about it. And it's true that that actually.
Well, okay. So you're saying they're just YouTube people, just wanted to talk about stuff that is.
Yes, they basically want to basically be. It's like if you are somebody who's like a wine snob, or a you collect what are they called? It's basically the records, the actual records, the albums. I forget what they're called. But it's like if you're somebody that does something that's very niche, but it's very bourgeois, for lack of better way to put it.
Right.
And you basically find a platform where people actually want to hear you. You're like, oh, there's this niche thing where I get to talk about it. It's like, then you go do it. And I think AI is that thing. And that's not to say that to listen to them talk about it isn't interesting, because I've listened to a whole
I love it.
shitload of people talk about it.
I love it.
But the thing is, one of the people that they showcased was that billionaire guy that owns Tesla or started Tesla.
Mhm. Right?
I forget what that guy's name is, but he's like
Uh,
a super billionaire, and he's described to be this like fucking genius, but he's
yeah.
not. He's
Well, I
he's
mean,
just like a
I
very
know his name. I
smart
can't
business
remember
person.
his name either. I'm just total blackout.
Because he was talking about some idea for like a transportation system he was going to have in California. It was total
Elon Musk.
bullshit.
Chat.
Elon Musk,
Chat's.
yeah,
Yeah.
he
Chat's
came up
here.
with some fucking idea that he wanted to have for a transportation system in LA. It was total dog shit. Like none of it could be. None of it was even possible, physically possible.
Oh,
None of
right,
it.
right, right. You mean
And
that? You mean that thing with the tunnel and?
yeah. So he wanted to do that. And he was playing it up and playing it up and playing. I talk, and the people are like, "Oh man, Elon Musk is a serious public intellectual. We need to take him seriously." It's like, yeah, none of this is fucking possible. By the way, it's like, yeah, I'm
Right.
not going to say that the guy isn't a genius in terms of making money. He probably is, but in terms of physics, he's fucking not. So why don't we listen? Why don't we talk to a fucking physicist? We'll talk to them
Exactly.
about this shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And the same thing with and Sam Harris is another big guy with AI, and it's like Sam Harris is not somebody that knows dog
What?
shit about programming. He
Yeah.
doesn't know how to make
Why
a
is
fucking
he?
AI.
Why is he talking about AI? Sam Harris?
Again,
Jesus
because
Christ.
he is a bourgeois public intellectual and he's interested in it himself, and people are also interested in it. And unlike his record collection, he gets to talk about
But
that
has
instead.
he even written in BASIC? Fuck.
I probably not. I know he's written articles about AI, but it's always within the degree of talking about the ethics of it, and that's fine. He
Yeah.
can actually do that.
Yeah.
But
Ethics. Fine.
it's like talking about the ethics of an intergalactic government. It's about talking. It's like that kind of. You can equate it to
Mm,
that in terms
yes.
of practical
Then,
application at
well,
this point.
intergalactic government. Then you have to bring in Darth Vader, and it's all going to get muddied.
I've talked about the ethics of that, about the ethics of an intergalactic government.
Okay,
Government.
I'd like to hear about that. Go ahead.
It's basically where America colonizes whatever it can, and then
Uh-huh.
uses that to basically control the Earth, and then spans the universe. That's my end goal for Galactic Empire.
Well, I mean,
It's run by
I'm not
America.
saying that's wrong. I was expecting a little bit more of a nuance.
No,
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 just fuck it. Just
yeah,
America.
yeah, America.
America. All right. I'm aboard. Fuck yeah. America. Fuck yeah.
The
Why
real
not?
question is going to be ethically is if we run into an alien race somehow, if it's even conceivable, we run into an alien race. My answer is to basically do the Islamic approach and make it submit first. That's the first approach.
All right. So in that case, Islam is good. Is that what you're
Uh,
saying?
not in terms of the religion itself, but in terms of the mindset.
All
In
right.
terms of basically, you do whatever is necessary to make your opponent submit to you. So it's actually pretty clever in that way. It's actually like the if you ever and I'm sure you do know at this point about Islamism, like
Mhm.
soft Islamism in terms of cultural influence, it's
Mhm.
actually very smart in the way that it works
Yeah.
because it just learns like the whole thing they have. I forgot where it was, whether it was an ISIS thing or I think it was an Al Qaeda thing, where they basically said, make sure you target white people. You don't target minorities like gay people. And that was after the Paul shooting. They were like, don't target gays. Don't target people that aren't white. Target whites, because if you don't, then it'll become a bigger story. Otherwise, I mean, that was a legit thing. I could go find it if necessary. That was a legit thing they put out. I think it was Al Qaeda, where they're like, yeah, don't target minorities because the
Oh,
Americans care more about them. And it's like, Jesus Christ, like they're telling us hard truths about our own culture. Come on.
yeah. They're like
But they're smart.
they know their shit. They're putting in
Yeah.
the research. Jesus.
Yeah,
Nice.
they're stupid in many ways, but they're not dumb there in how to undermine the West. And no better example than fucking Europe. Because at least in America we're not doing that badly, but in fucking Europe, man, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Is
Where
this
they're gonna be in fucking if you want to talk about bleak, the United States is nowhere near bleak. We're okay here. We're just kind of polarized and we have problems in politics. Fucking Europe, man, especially countries like Germany and Sweden and especially France.
right?
fucking dude, in 30 years when they have a new generation that comes up, I mean, best case scenario is that the new generation that comes up somehow manages to buck the trend and just say, okay, fuck the Islamists, fuck the imams, fuck the radicals. We don't want anything to do with them. And that somehow changes things.
That's not going to happen.
Or they basically do what every other generation has done.
That's not going to happen. It's just, those countries are gone.
But I mean, that's the question though, because they, it's basically I'll tell you what though, I've talked to people from France and they seem convinced that their country's basically fucked. But my question is going to be, which is the nation that reaches, assuming it happens in the worst case scenario, that you have basically colonies within your own countries, like you have in Sweden, where you just can't go into certain parts of they have to deploy the military there. That's how bad they are.
Right.
And they get out of control. At what point do you elect people that are so beyond the point of caring anymore about liberal principles or human rights or their own constitution or anything, where they just go in and just pacify them? And I mean pacify them in the Brazilian sense, where they just go in and eradicate fucking people. And that's true about Brazil. Brazil does that all the time. I've talked to people from Brazil. They do that. They will send in paramilitary forces on behalf of the government to pacify, that's their word, the area in which they inhabit. And what they do is they go in, find any cartel of people there and just kill them.
Right.
And that's how they pacify that area. And that's the question, is whether they're going to adopt those tactics in those countries where they basically pay either private companies or more likely paramilitary forces that have some nebulous government or private connection, and they'll just send them in to just basically find whoever the militiamen are that are Islamists, just kill them.
I think that's a wet dream, though. I think it's more likely that they would just let those areas secede.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, that's... I don't know, though. I don't know. That would be I could see what you're saying.
I mean, sending in the fucking military or the fucking RoboCops or fucking assassins.
It would basically be. It would be like
that's movie fantasy. In reality, they're just gonna fucking let it go.
It depends.
Let's detach that part of the country.
Maybe not. It depends. It depends which way they go. The problem in countries like Sweden is that they're just so culturally fucked up that, and I've seen people like Douglas Murray talk about this, even including the UK. They're just so culturally fucked up that the question of do you have it in you to kill somebody? That's the question. Are there enough people within your country that would be willing to murder another person?
Right.
And in the case of the United States, no fucking question. No fucking question in this country would not be the case where that could happen. It's absolutely the culture of this country, where we are an incredibly rebellious country. And if we saw something like, let's say ISIS took over a city, you would have a paramilitary fucking gang that would invade it within a day. You'd have a day before, and let's say the military, for whatever reason, National Guard wasn't called in, for whatever reason, the military and the police and all that stood away, you would have a paramilitary force of citizens there in a day, invading it, shooting people. And that doesn't mean it's right, it doesn't mean it's liberal, it doesn't mean it's just, doesn't mean innocent people don't die. But it does mean it's a natural response.
You remember the Japanese emperor, right? When he was talking about the invasion of America, he said that every fucking blade of grass would have a gun behind it. Remember that?
Right, and that's basically the means by which to say that if you were to invade a country or attack it, how willing would it be to submit to you? And in the case of Europe, that's the real problem. They seem to be very willing to submit.
He was also talking about the fact that there is no gun restrictions, right?
Right, and that as well. But it's also, I would say, if you like, practically yes to your point, but in terms of ideological, I would say
Yeah, it's
what I'm
both.
saying,
Yeah,
that it depends on the
obviously we're defined.
right. Well, the thing is that the United States has always been um pretty violent, and we've always had a I don't want to say like a violent culture, but we've had a culture that has always lusted for violence or has enjoyed violence, in that we like war. We
Hmm.
like the outlaw effect of like the old west. We like talking about the mafia, like violent iterations, whether it's the police cracking down on criminals or it's us going to war. Like, we have a very natural acceptance, or a private citizen defending his own home against terrorists or, criminals.
Right.
Like, we have a very natural acceptance to the idea of violence. And while that does
Exactly.
have downsides from my perspective, but
Of course.
the issue is that if it were to come to foreign invasion, I would say out of all the countries in the
It's
world, we'd probably be one of the worst to ever actually invade, because you have citizens
exactly
there,
exactly.
day fucking one,
That's what he
shooting
meant. That's what
the
he meant.
opponent.
Like
Yeah,
there, every fucking blade of grass would have a gun.
yeah.
That's basically what he said. And yeah, it doesn't mean it's good. Doesn't mean it's
No, it
something that.
definitely has downsides. There's a trade off to that fact. There's a trade off to the fact that we have
But
still to this
it
day
was
high
it
crime
was
rate.
true. It was true though. He was
Yes.
very perceptive.
Yeah, yeah. I think that there's a lot, and I would say that in terms of the targets that were chosen by the Islamists, they chose smartly, or wisely, I should say smartly, chose
Mhm.
wisely in Europe. But with the United States, I mean, it didn't take me or anyone else very long that I've talked to get pretty woke on the issue of Islam, to say that, like, once shit started going down in Europe, that it's like, okay, yeah, we're done with this experiment. We're done.
Right.
Like, we're not gonna have this here. And the only fucking people at this point that are still defending that are people that have a financial interest because of Saudi Arabia or other countries like Qatar, whatever, or pure ideologues on the left, which it's a very small group.
So when you say defending, what do you mean? Defending what exactly?
It's basically the idea of multiculturalism.
Oh, okay. So you're
The idea that we
you're not
have
talking about you're not talking about 9/11 specifically or anything.
no. It's about the idea. Well, actually it is involved in 9/11, because that was one of the mistakes and that's an example of, like, we had 9/11. George Bush came out and said, Islam is peace, and we still get some reverberations of that every now and then, especially
Hmm.
after a terror attack. But the issue is that the majority of people in the United States are aware of what's going on, and that's one of the reasons why, in my opinion, Trump won. Was
Right.
that
Right.
this question as to living in a more monoculture society or multicultural society? I think the answer's been given, and I think that that's going to be one of the real change. And the thing is that if you look at democratic politics or leftist politics in the United States now, you can't get to the mainstream and be preaching multicultural bullshit without being in an echo chamber. Like,
Yeah.
if you get out in front of people and start preaching multiculturalism, all you need is one conservative in that crowd, one even nebulously conservative person. They'll just say, "Well, what about Europe?" And boom, that's defeating multiculturalism in a second.
Oh yeah.
It's and people realize it. And the thing is, I've seen it's an older tape. I'd have to go back and see it, but it was like Martin O'Malley when he was running for president, or it was in the primary in
Hmm.
2016. He was in a room. It was like a town hall or something, and somebody asked him about Europe, what's
Hmm.
going on there, and he had no fucking answer, because he said something about living in a multicultural society, and the person, like, basically interjected and said, "Hey, it's easy to say that, but what about what's going on in Europe?" And boom, that's as far as it needs to go. Like, all you need is one person to just
So
say, "Yeah, what about Europe?"
he was
And then
basically trying to be Trudeau.
yeah, that was his attempt. It was a very small appeal, but the thing is that after that point, never fucking mention it again. And guess why? Because he knows that you have to be in front of the right crowd to play to them. And all you need is one person that's not on board to say otherwise, and that defeats the entire argument. That's the only way a totalitarian mindset works.
And I guess that's why the hardcore leftists in those demonstrations are so fucking, what do we call it? Unbelievably obnoxious. Like, they will not let anyone speak up. Right?
Well, I guess it comes from, you could ascribe it to two different positions or of multiple motives for why they act that way.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is that, like, even with them, I think that they are very fringe, and the real issue that they have is not with anybody else, it's with themselves, in my opinion. Like, that would be if I ever ran into somebody that was like that, I would just say, like, listen, you ascribed to other people all these different things when, you're a person with a totalitarian mindset. You're somebody that is easily distinguishable as unhealthy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think that is totally right. I think that is a very
because
nice,
they want you to scream at them. That's the thing.
Yeah,
they want you to scream at them. They want you to hit
I think
them.
you're totally right about that. Jesus Christ.
It's the rest of us that are trying to suss out what we can do in this society, and it's only the most fringe radical people that are not willing to engage in any way. And when push comes to shove with a lot of people, even if they say they're fucking partisan and whatever else, you can usually persuade them to calm down, back down, just take it, ease back a little bit, and then start to talk with you. I found that in so many different cases. The people that are going to show up and scream in your face and do what happened with Sargon when he was in wherever the fuck it was, L.A., California, wherever the fuck.
You mean the new one, the atheist convention?
No. The one we was in L.A. when it was Milo speaking.
Oh, okay. All
the
right.
Berkeley thing, maybe. He went there, and there's this moment where he talks to this, I think it was like Refuse Fascism, something like that, an activist, and he's like, yeah, well, what about communism? And he starts saying things, and the guy like basically stopped, looked at him, and tried to say like one to two things to him, and then basically another person stepped in, and they started a chant, and then basically drowned out Sargon, and then continued to chant. That is specifically somebody you can't debate with, because they are specifically there to not debate with you. They are there to only assert their position, to make things as simple and as catchy and as
I mean, that's not even a debater. That's like a tactical officer.
Exactly, right. And so the issue is trying to basically separate as best as you can those kind of people versus everyone else. Because I do think that with progressives, there are a certain group of progressives that I do think are very salvageable. That I think that once you can get into their mind a whole series of things are incorrect or that they should reconsider, I think they fall away from the movement it just overnight. But the issue is going to be the real dyed-in-the-wool people, and the worst ones, in my opinion. And I tweeted about this earlier, and I saw recently Jordan Peterson gave a speech about this, and he got a bunch of shit on Twitter about it, where he said that we need to effectively get all of these different people out of academia, that we have all these different people in academia that are nothing but propagandists, that are indoctrinating people, and that they are creating an incredibly fucked up society, and they're basing things not on any kind of merit or on research or on things that they can demonstrate, but instead on pure ideology. They're dangerous, and they need to be removed from the university effectively as can be done now. And I agree with that entirely. And for anyone that's on the left,
I missed that, but I'm sure he's right about that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, people basically what I can't stand about that, and I understand what people say in disagreement or in criticism of that position, but the problem is that so many people that would push back on me on that, if I don't give you the benefit of the doubt, obviously I can in certain cases, but in the instance where I don't give you the benefit of the doubt, especially if you sympathize with the fucking, I'll just call them Marxist professors, because that it categorizes them pretty well there. If you sympathize with them, you have no principles. So when you turn to me and you say to me, "Hey, Louis, why aren't you being liberal? Don't you have liberal principles? Shouldn't you be abiding by your liberal principles?" Yeah, I should be, but you're the one that's saying that to me when you are a fucking Marxist totalitarian. So
Right.
I'm not going to listen to you, and I don't give a shit what you think about my principles because you have none. You hold none of my principles. So fuck you. And I don't care what you have to say. And the thing is, with those people, it's not even a matter of disagreeing with them or them holding different principles to me. The fact is that they are fucking dangerous in that we have these people coming out of colleges by the thousands who are saying, yeah, by the way, we need to remove the First Amendment. And it's like, can you find me a more dangerous fucking person in society than that? Can you conceive of somebody more dangerous in society than that person? And those are the kind of people that, and it's not that guy's fucking fault. It's not that fucking guy's fault that he's coming out of college as a fucking Marxist totalitarian. It's because of his professors, the professors from the social sciences. They're turning him, are indoctrinating him into being a permanent activist who is a fucking lunatic.
That is the problem. Why are we turning people into permanent activists?
Yeah, because the thing is, the people that come out with these degrees in African American studies and gender studies and all this shit, women's studies, what is their job?
Yeah,
it's an activist.
What is the fucking
it's activism?
Point? I mean, people are talking about like, can we have free education in these countries and blah blah blah. Right?
Well, that's the thing. Is my question is, I'll say tomorrow, make universities fucking free. Do it tomorrow. No social sciences. Period.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? We have those costs to keep people away from fucking social sciences, right? That's why it's not free, because otherwise people would just go and fucking do gender studies. Because that's what they're doing in all the other countries, but at least here there's not that many.
That's true. It's true to some extent in the United States that there's far fewer activists than there could be if it were free. But the issue is that one of the real problems is that I think that there's this perpetual myth, and I've talked about this in streams before on my own channel, where people ask me, if you had a kid and they were 17, 18, whatever, they were graduating college or high school, and they talk to you about going to college, what would you say? And I'd say, what career do you want? And if they can't answer that question, I'd say, absolutely do not go to college. Because that's the big issue that we have in this country right now. And it happened under my generation as well, is you grow up and everyone and their grandmother is telling you to go to college. Everyone is insisting to you to go to college. So you go to college, and the second you step in the door, you are hit with this barrage in so many colleges of left-wing positions. And that includes the colleges that I went to. And if you are a not very smart or easily susceptible person, or you have a damaged personality or damaged or mindset because of tragedies in your life, it's very easy to be sucked into a fucking cult.
Right.
And that's what's happening. Because look at all these fucking. Do you see people that are at these protests that appear to be well-adjusted, in shape, decent people? No, they're all fucked up.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. Is you have all these fucking people within the universities themselves, within the institutions, preying on fucked up people to churn out full-time activists.
Here's the thing that I keep sort of bouncing back and forth in my head. Like, all right, so we're saying that we have to make people pay for school because we don't want them to do stupid shit. And that's totally okay. And I agree with that. However, it also brings the entitlement of people thinking they're not students, they're customers.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something I didn't even touch upon. But yeah, it's definitely something I've seen people talk about. And that's a really big problem today. And it's one of the issues with the universities themselves, is that they they don't really have an answer to when the students come to them and make demands for like whatever they want. It's because they're the customers. Like, are you going to tell them to fuck off? And that's the real problem. It's like, once upon a time, you'd be like, you go up to a professor and you say to them, like, yeah, fuck you, professor. I'm not doing this. You know, you're a racist. That person would be out of that university in a day.
Yeah.
But that doesn't exist anymore. I couldn't imagine anyone getting fucking expelled from a university outside of they were falsely accused of rape. That's the only fucking thing I can think of being thrown out of a university for at this point.
Yeah, I don't understand how it works anymore. I couldn't even tell you.
But yeah, I would say that you are right. But the thing is, I don't really know what would be the because the thing is if you took the payment option of it, if you just went to college, then you aren't a customer anymore. You're just, another person in a society with free college. But the problem is, in my opinion, the real danger to me about free college is you are basically going to these colleges that are already fucked up, and you're going, yeah, by the way, the same thing that's wrong with the Pentagon, here you go, here's a blank check, go wild. And it's like, no fucking way, man. No fucking way. Not it while I'm alive and have something to say about it. No fucking way.
Nope.
Like, nope. You're basically rewarding colleges that are almost across the board dysfunctional with a blank check. Like, that's nuts.
No. Fuck off.
Yeah. My thing is, I think there should be maybe more what are they called? They're basically like state subsidies for an individual, Pell Grants, but based on different factors than now. Because I actually got a Pell Grant in college, and I couldn't fucking tell you why. I applied, I got it. I'm like, okay, and they gave me good. Like $2,000, and I was like, cool, $2,000 off of like 25.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, but the thing is, maybe more of that. But I don't think that universal college is a good idea for our country. The way things are, I think that's a bad idea.
The way it looks, yeah. I mean, everything that's happening, it's just crazy. Sure, if colleges were like, yeah, everything's going great. Look at us, everything's going good.
Right.
Yeah, could you make this free? Look at us, how good we are.
Well, that's what I mean. It's the thing about same thing with the Pentagon. It's just like once you give any entity a blank check, no matter what their performance is, they just go fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Then it just becomes about covering up any problems. That way, you can guarantee the income.
Yeah. Because obviously, if you have less income the next year, you're going to get cut income.
That's probably why the Pentagon loses those reports about how they're spending those trillions of dollars. I'm sure that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, of course. It's lost them. No idea where. What happened? I don't know.
But yeah, the colleges are definitely a very big thing in this country now, and I think that enough people are going to get woke to how kind of useless college is and what a scam it kind of was. Not for everyone, obviously. But the idea that you're going to walk into college and walk out into a career is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that fell for it, especially in my generation. And like I said, like if I have kids, it's going to be my question is unless you have a career in mind, join the labor force, join the military, do whatever the fuck you want, learn a trade. You're not going to college with my,
because it's kind of like taking out the loan before you have the house. Like, right. Why would you get that? I mean, sure, if an employer came to you and said, all right, we love you, we want to hire you, but you really need that paper. Can you just get that fucking thing? Then sure, get the loan. Yeah. Whatever. But just get the loan for no reason?
Yeah. Having experience in the workforce means more than the fucking degree. I've run into that so many times. And the issue is you sometimes do need the degree, but the issue is that you can have the experience, go get the degree, and then walk into the job because now you have the experience and the degree. Otherwise, you're walking out of college covered, like just, with all the debt in the world
Yeah.
and no job.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have a fucking
now you
degree.
have a fucking big debt. That's a
Man,
big deal.
good luck getting a house. I mean, that's the thing. Is like,
Yeah.
good luck putting together a life if you make that mistake. And thankfully, I never made the same mistake as other people. I have a friend of mine who he's doing well now because he actually managed to get a career together, and he's now a I forget what it's called, but he works with animals, but it's not like, he works like with like stallions and horses and shit like that, but like professionally for like ranchers and stuff like that. So he makes good money doing it.
Right.
But the thing is that like he was 200 something thousand in debt when he left college.
Yeah.
And it's like, could you imagine going, and he went to Canisius, which is like some Catholic school in Buffalo. Could you imagine going to fucking Dartmouth or Yale or some shit like that, graduating hundreds of thousands in debt with a fucking degree in, women's studies?
Yeah. Fucking, I mean, Jesus Christ. Imagine doing it for fucking, what's the best one? I forget the name.
Interpretive dance studies or whatever.
No. I mean, the best college ever. Like,
probably Harvard.
Yeah, Harvard, obviously. Like, Harvard is now the fucking center of gender studies.
Oh yeah, it's out of control, bro.
It's like, holy shit, dude. That was supposed to be like if you had a Harvard degree, you were supposed to be like, I'm set. My life is good, right?
Yeah.
Now you can just do that, and okay, your life is fucked. You have a Harvard degree. Well, fuck you.
The whole point of college, like Harvard, was, and this has been true for a very long time. The whole point of Ivy League schools, once upon a time, was to be part of the club. It's where you make connections. You meet all the, kids of politicians, the kids of billionaires and millionaires. It's where you meet everyone to be in the know. That way, if you need money later, you need connections later, you know who to call.
Sure, but it was also like when you applied for a job, they would see that, and they didn't.
Yeah, right. They see that degree.
They didn't even have to call for a fucking reference. They just, okay, so it's Harvard. All right, good to go.
You'd be on the short list immediately.
But now that they've turned that into a fucking piece of shit, so now when they see Harvard, and they're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't hire this person.
One of the real big dangers of this phenomena, what's going on in universities, and I've seen people talk about this from a very interesting perspective, and it's one I agree with, is the fact that one of the big imports into the United States is student visas. We have a lot of people that come to this country from all over the world to get educated, that go to important schools like Dartmouth and Yale and Harvard and all the rest. And whatever the fuck's on the West Coast, not that any of it's important. They go to those schools to get a very good education, to be educated by supposedly the best people in the world. Well, what happens when you get a degree from a school that doesn't have the best professors in the world anymore? And one of the big problems now is that now these colleges are looking more and more like jokes rather than major institutions that should be taken seriously on a global scale. And what that does is it also diminishes the standing of the United States in the world, because what happens when it goes from Harvard or Yale to Beijing University? What happens then? So one of the perspectives of that one of the motives that I have in this for why I don't fucking care about principles or how you feel about some Marxist professor's rights or fucking whatever, you are enabling our opposition in the world to subvert us in terms of education, which is an extremely important part of the United States being the hegemon of the world. So
every country,
yeah, right. This is something that every country is competing in, whether they want to say so or not. They want people to immigrate to the country, and they want their country to be a draw, because any country that's a shithole, no one's going there, and that's what makes them weak. No one wants to go there. No one wants to get educated there. No one wants to start a business there. They're not attracting the brightest minds in the world. I forget what the countries that there exist, but there's countries that experience something called brain drain, which is where your smartest people and ambitious people just leave your country. And,
I think that's. I think India is a good
yeah,
example of that.
India's one, and V Monroe has actually talked about that as being an issue in Romania. Is that all the smartest people just leave the country?
Right, because they get a much nicer paycheck
Yeah, well, they
in
can have
Western
a
country.
better chance at getting rich, a better chance at living a good life, better chance of getting a good education, living in a safe country where they can raise their children in a better environment. Like there's many things that would draw a nation or draw people away from a nation. It's sad in terms of V's case for his country. I feel bad in his case for his
Sure,
country,
sure.
but there's nothing I can do about that. You know what I mean? There's nothing I can do about the United States being a draw other
I'm
than
not sure if he live there still, or
Romania. I think he does. Yes.
yeah. So that's
And
up to him
so
then. Yeah.
right, right. It's up to him and his country, and they're limited in what they can do in that regard. But the issue is that the real problem, from my perspective, and anyone who's sane in their perspective, is that what happens when the United States becomes a joke, and China becomes the place to go for university education.
That could happen, and that would be fucking scary.
Yeah, and so the answer is that if you're anyone that takes international relations seriously, that should be something you consider. And the problem is that, and that's what I mean. When people talk to me about how Jordan Peterson's illiberal or I should stand by my principles, it's like, listen, you don't actually understand what's at stake here. You fundamentally don't understand that the United States is changing in a way that is enabling people within this world to compete with us in a real way. You know, like it's very cute to have our universities be fucking useless paper mills when we live in a world where every nation is fucking Somalia. You know, maybe that's when we can afford to do that. But when we live in when we live in a world where China is competitive with us economically now, it's not the world. We should not be weakening ourselves arbitrarily like we are.
Yeah,
and
it shouldn't be cute.
Exactly.
Fuck off.
That's been like one of the things that I want to see, and China's smart in not doing, is, and they're doing this in small ways in other nations. This is a news story that they're involving themselves economically more, where they're sending experts to there, is Africa. China's sending people to Africa to basically not colonize them, but basically enforce soft power, where they have financial ties in Africa. So now those countries are now more financially dependent on China. So they will naturally gravitate towards them instead of other nations. It's soft
smart.
power. And it's smart. And
really
what'll happen there is, let's say that there's a revolt. Let's say that China has some sort of major interest. Like, let's say that they turn Ethiopia into the United States' version of Okinawa, Okinawa, where we have military bases there. Okay. China does the exact same thing in Ethiopia. Okay. Do you think that the Chinese are going to show any fucking restraint at all in eliminating opposition? Or are they going to be as ridiculous, totalitarian, and just inhuman and immoral as possible to retain their power?
Of course.
And my answer is, look at any other communist nation in the history of this world. There's your fucking answer.
Yeah.
And so if the question is whether you want to live in a world where you empower and you have an emboldened communist government doing exactly as the Soviets did, or do you want to live in a country where communism's a joke and the West runs the world, you know, it's up to you, you know, which is the case. But the fact is now is that, you know, anyone who's on a college campus saying that, oh, we need to keep these fucking crazy Marxist professors that are teaching nonsense and churning out full-time activists that are destroying the country, you know, you got to really realize that it's not just bad for us here. You're also enabling people overseas who you say you care about to basically become, you know, the things that you say the United States did to countries, such as subvert their national sovereignty. China's going to do that, and they have no ideological conception of not human rights, of what's the word? It's a direct result of materialism in terms of the ideology of it. Human worth. There is no human worth, in that you hold no distinction for the worth of a human life, and you will eradicate it if it opposes you in any conceivable way. That is the effect of a totalitarian government, and they will do that throughout the world if it's necessary.
And they've always done it. I mean,
yes, it's not even just the Chinese; it's the fucking communists. That's what they do.
Of course, but isn't it fascinating though? Like you know about the Tiananmen Square thing, the incident there, right? And you can't even find that in China. It's like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And Google is a participant in covering this up.
Yep.
Right? How is that possible? We have Western fucking companies partaking in the cover up of a socialist, communist cover up. I don't get it. It's just.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like that's.
I grew up in a different world.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's one of the things that I like. I don't like. It's a real hang up in terms of not just the left, but also it existed on the right, and it still exists on the right. But it's especially problem now on the left, where people don't understand.
I'm not saying the right has any.
No. I'm saying
free card here. Fuck off.
But the issue is that with the globalized economy that we do have, that there is no. Like we hold ourselves to personal ethical standards, but the issue is with corporations is that they don't have to. There's no imperative to do that. And in fact, it makes a lot less sense to act ethically when instead you could make far more money to not act ethically. And the purpose of a corporation is not to act ethically. It's to make money. It's to maximize profit.
Sure. But here's the thing though. In the old days, you could trust a company to just want to make money. Now, they just want to make.
Right, you have to guess.
They want to
your guess is as good as mine, right? In terms of what they're up to, you know, you can't even assume that anymore.
Yeah, because they used to just want to make money, but now they just want to virtue signal. I don't get what is Mark Zuckerberg's fucking motivation? I don't know. He already has more money than God, so. I'm not sure money is really the motivation here.
His motivation now is to become president, but he's got to. I mean, his biden has he has as much chance as Hillary Clinton at this point. I'll put it like that.
Maybe
it's not going to happen.
Maybe, but I don't even know if that's his point. Maybe he's just like, this is just my hobby, dude.
I think he really wants it because it's one thing to just basically float the idea, like what's his name? Kanye West. I think he's someone that said he wants to be president or whatever. It's one thing to float the idea because you're a huge egomaniac. It's another thing to basically start doing, like, you show up at public events, you give speeches, you know, you're engaging in the exact same tactics and stylizations as a politician would be. Okay. That to me showcases that he's actually interested in running for president. But like I said, he has zero fucking chance. He is the Jeb Bush of the Democratic Party. Zero chance.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he's not going to win, but it's still weird.
No, it's not really. I mean, he's somebody that wants. What happened? Like, if you're somebody that is attracted to power, and you have like more power than anyone else could possibly imagine, what do you want?
Well, I mean, obviously he wants more power, but
exactly.
I just don't understand it, though. Why would you want it? It's like, isn't it enough? You fuckhead.
No, it never is enough. I mean, that's the thing. Is that like when you have a natural, and I talked to people when I was in college all the time about this. That especially because I was a poli-sci major, is that when people have a natural attraction to power. It's like having a fetish. Like, you don't ever just, like, you have to consciously fight the effort of being attracted to that thing. If you don't and you embrace it, then that's all you're consumed by it. It just becomes something that you naturally, you basically.
That's sick.
I'm not saying it's healthy. I'm just saying that's how that person thinks. I mean, you could whether I'm saying it or you can get Jordan Peterson on this call and ask him, and I'm sure he'd say something similar. That it is pathological. It is basically someone who has embraced something part of them that they recognize they can't really discuss with other people. And that's the big thing with a lot of these people who are attracted to power and that want power, is that it is as socially unacceptable as it is like farting in someone's face, that you can say to somebody else that you're attracted to power, because it's basically an immoral proposition, and it's acceptable for it to be accepted as an immoral proposition because people that are attracted to power don't give a shit how they get it. They just want it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fine if you're like someone who's just low level or whatever. But when you're Mark Zuckerberg, no, you don't get more
the
power, fucker.
Like,
you have enough power.
Yeah. Not to him though. Not to him. That's the thing. But that's the thing is the question, and this would be the Jordan Peterson debate, is if it's from my perspective, if it's about wanting more power for the sake of power because that's your natural attraction, or B, Jordan Peterson's position, which is the more Freudian thing, which is you want people to love you, because that's another big part of politics, is wanting people to. You want to walk out on stage and have 100,000 fucking people screaming at the top of their lungs saying that they love you.
Yeah, but that's retarded.
No, it isn't. It isn't retarded. It's something that a lot of people want. People want to be loved. So like that's a
yeah, sure. But do any of those people actually believe that people love them?
No, it's you're filling a hole. You're just pouring emotion into a hole that you'll never fucking fill. But that's the thing. But again, it's an attractive part of it. You want to walk into a room thinking of yourself as a powerful person in society, and everyone fucking loves you. Like that is something that is. I mean, that's the thing. Could you imagine being somebody who is elected to a high public office because people actively supported you, people actively gave you money, they showed up and they voted for you. They voted for you to be in this office. So, especially if you reach a position such as, not, let's say, Congress, because Congress isn't that hard depending on the district, but let's say Senate. You became a senator. One of two people in a state, and let's say it's fucking, New York. So we're talking out of millions and millions of people in the state, you're one person who represents them, and you are somebody they actively showed up to support and vote for. And when you show up to rallies, they cheer for you, they scream your name, they come up to you, they tell you how much they love you, how much they admire you, how much they support you and hope you go to Washington D.C. and kick ass and all that sort of thing. And at the same time, you're getting rich. You're like, everything's just falling into place, and you have the biggest fucking ego stroking thing in the world beyond people loving you and you getting rich, is the fact that you are somebody that is distinct from every single other person in society, in that you are more powerful than them in the hegemon of the world. So I'm telling you, like, power and money and status. And basically, especially in politics, it warps your fucking mind.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's a fucking cliche, but here we go. Here we are.
It does. It's just you can distinguish what the reasons are for that. And maybe people can maybe argue that's what happened with Bernie Sanders, is that he was a fucking nobody for just about his entire life, outside of he became the senator of Vermont, which is a pretty small, fairly insignificant state. And the next thing you know, he's in the middle of the media spotlight, and he's showing up at stadiums with tens of thousands of people screaming at the top of their lungs, telling them that they love him. And I showed up in Buffalo and I tried to see him, and I would have go up to him and told him I loved him.
Right. But you think that was it? You think he just got drunk on power?
No, because it doesn't affect everyone in the same way. I would say that it maybe may have scared him.
Do you think that means he's above it?
I would just say that he's not accustomed to it.
Why would he be above it in that case?
It depends on what kind of person you are. And the thing is that I would say that if one of the things that basically restrained him is the fact that he probably does hold certain principles. And you saw this when it came to some of the ideological shit. especially after the election, where the first thing he pointed to was identity politics. Somewhere deep within Bernie Sanders is a principled person, and he realizes that a lot of the fucking pandering that goes on in this country and in politics and the Democratic Party especially is fundamentally wrong, and he doesn't agree with it.
Right.
And those are the kind of things that a person, if he attaches himself enough to that and clings to those principles, he won't basically just fully ingratiate himself into the cynicism of it, like Hillary Clinton would. Hillary Clinton doesn't give a shit what pandering is necessary. She will pander in whatever way is necessary to achieve power. She doesn't give a shit.
Oh, yeah.
And that to me is the distinct difference. Even though Bernie Sanders has his problems, he's still one of the first fucking people post the election cycle after Hillary Clinton lost and everyone's scrambling, begging, oh, why did she lose? Bernie Sanders, one of the first things he fucking said after the election, it was like 2 days after, goes, yeah, it was identity politics. And he was one of the first fucking people.
Right.
And the thing is, for whatever's wrong with you have to fucking give him credit, because to some degree he gets it. He knows what's going wrong.
Well, obviously, I would have loved to see him go up against Trump. That would have been much more.
Oh my god, dude, that would have been a fucking political election of our lifetimes, man.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
We got robbed.
Yeah. Oh, could you imagine like a debate where basically somebody brings up like the political establishment, and basically it's just them going back and forth on who can double down and hate the political establishment more than the other? Oh my god, dude, that would be amazing.
Oh Jesus, that'd be awesome.
Put that in the fucking stadium, and it would outsell fucking like the NFL or some shit.
Yeah, they'd be fucking trying to undersell each other and just going. Oh my god.
They really would, because the thing is that Bernie Sanders would have called out Trump a lot more effectively on whether he would have actually stood up to Wall Street and the rest of that kind of thing, because Bernie Sanders was actually far stronger on those issues than Trump, and it basically would have brought out Trump.
A leftist should be. It's a fucking disgrace that it has to be the right wing that brings up the fucking Workers' Party. What is this?
Oh yeah.
That's a disgrace.
I mean, for the Republican Party, for as long as it's existed, and this is not me denigrating the Republican Party, it's just part of the history. Mm-hmm. The Republican Party, for the last 120 years, if not even longer, for basically its existence, has been the party of not, I don't want to say management, but of the business interests. And that's good and bad. It's like a small business owner. Right. And the Chamber of Commerce when it wasn't insane. There's a good element to that, but again, like we talked about off stream, was the healthy dichotomy that could exist between the business interests, the interests of management, and the interests of the worker, the interests of the national economy of society. Like, there are competing interests that are healthy and that are dichotomized. They are two distinct sides that have mutually exclusive interests, and that's fine. That can be the case.
Yeah, it's not even that it's fine. It's necessary.
Right. Like, that's how you know you like, if it becomes too polarized, obviously that's a problem, or if one side's too dominant, that's a problem. But the issue is that there's always going to be power ebbing from either side. There's always going to be a distinction. There's always going to be a separation, and the distinction that's made is something that isn't divided by race or by sex or by issues that are specific to the individual that cannot be changed. If it is anything like that, it's class, which, as we all can accept, is possible to change. So even there, at its worst, it can still be something that is not so divisive and permanent that it leads to some kind of radicalization. Even with class, it's just a matter of, how much upward mobility is there in terms of the economy, that kind of thing like that. Even there, it's a debate, and it can be, something that is dichotomized but still healthy. But when you get down to the issues of, well, we have blacks against whites, and we have, men against women and those kind of things, and the way that they're set up, they're permanent. There is no bridging the gap. It's always set from the standard of these are mutually exclusive interests, and the only way that this can ever be resolved is with pure hegemonic dominance of one side. That's the only way we could ever resolve the whites versus the black issue, is if either side completely annihilates the other, or forces the other side to submit
in their mind
power.
anyway.
Well, according to their ideology.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I'm just gonna do some super chat here.
Yeah.
Asterisk Love, I don't think they will ever build a robot or AI that will replace us. I work at Walmart at a self checkout. The machines are rather shitty.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Okie dokie.
I mean, real quick, interrupt real quick. At Tops, which is a supermarket chain in my area, they have basically a whole shitload of lanes of people that will check you out, and then they have the automated, like, you check yourself out. There's always at a minimum one attendant there to help you because no one can figure out the fucking machine. So even there, it's like, automation, with the exception of the person you need there to explain to you how the fucking thing works.
Exactly. All right, let's see. Psychotic Cognition says, did you see the progressive scream at the sky?
That was low T as shit. That was lame.
Yeah, I actually didn't see that, so
I did. It was lame. The only exception.
I'll take your word for it then.
The only exception was this black woman who was like howling, like she's howling at the moon. That one was funny.
It wasn't like when Trump won then, like that.
No, if it was something like that, I would laugh about it and say it was worth it. But this was
like
pretty
Darth Vader kind of thing. Like no.
This is pretty Jeb Bush. This is pretty low T.
No. It's like
the exception was a black woman. Yeah, that's pretty much what they did. They didn't really say no. They just screamed.
No, screamed. I mean that would have been great. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like the comparison to no to like
I don't know.
No.
It would still be kind of cringy if you ask me. But like I said, the only exception was this black woman who just Paul Joseph Watson used her in his thumbnail for obvious reasons because she was one of the funny ones where she just looks up, she goes like. Like she was like howling. It's so funny. He has her mouth like, oh man, it's like, oh man, she sounds like she's having a hernia. It's like,
just hurling.
Yeah, it was really funny. But outside of her, everyone else was fucking lame.
Yeah, I wasn't there, so I didn't see that. But thank you for that comment.
If it ever got really good, I'd probably, and I'm not saying it couldn't. I mean, one of the big things to come out of the whole Trump thing is that I find funny in the most like pathetic way are those pink pussy hats. Like they're just so fucking like cringy and stupid.
Yeah,
they're so funny, and like every time I see somebody wearing like a pink pussy hat, I'm just like, man, I can't fucking take you seriously. Like,
no.
Fucking stupid.
Like, what are you, Steve Shives? It's really.
I mean, not even that. Like, even there, it's like with Steve Shives, he's like a fucking like just kind of like a loser. But with the people with the pink pussy hats, they're like a living caricature. Like they are somebody you couldn't even fucking parody. Mm-hmm. And at least in the way that they're at least amusing to look at. So you don't need someone to necessarily, satirize them because they're already goofy and ridiculous. So you can laugh at them anyway. So unlike some other people who, like the communists and that sort of thing, like as cringy and ridiculous as they are, like I take them seriously because, I recognize that they're fucking dangerous.
Right.
But, unlike I would say a lot of people on the alt-right, like they people want to make the alt-right look to be like this new fucking neo-Nazi movement in the United States. And it's like, I really don't take them seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I should address that because a lot of people ask me like, why don't you make videos on this fucking Alaska dude or whatever his name is? Or
Alaska.
Yeah, like people like that. I'm like, they don't have any power. I don't care.
Yeah.
They're not gonna fucking change anything.
Yeah, I mean, he got into a debate with Sargon and really didn't do that well. So I think it's like,
yeah, Like, even if he didn't, I don't care. He's not going to
Yeah,
change anything, and he has no power.
yeah. I mean, it's a real distinction because the alt right doesn't hold any institutional power anywhere at
No,
all.
no.
They've always kind of had like, and I mean like the true alt right. I don't mean like the fucking like people that you could nebulously say are alt right. Like people say like Sam Hyde is alt right, but it's like, yeah, who's
People
Sam
say
Hyde?
you are alt right.
I'm alt right.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet him.
Yeah, but they say I'm alt right. They say you're alt
Oh
right.
right.
So
Well, that's just nonsense. That's like the
yeah,
whole everyone's a
obviously,
Nazi shit.
obviously, but that's the bad thing they do. They paint everyone into that thing, and
Right. I
that,
honestly
that
think
that
that
takes
that's
that takes the edge off of it.
well. That's the thing is that I think that the big uh um win with the alt right. I'm trying to think of a better word, but the benefit that we have with the alt right is that they are very cringy and
Hmm.
they can't meme very well and they can't really debate their positions very well, and whenever they get in just even more like laid back conversations with people, they're not very charismatic, they're not very persuasive from my perspective anyways. They're
Right,
just
right.
they don't really move you like that in my opinion. Like I've never really seen any alt-right person who I've listened to and thought to myself like, oh wow, that person sounds pretty persuasive and whatever. Like I'm not
Yeah,
saying they don't
yeah.
exist, but I've yet to hear a single person. Like I've
Oh no,
listened to Richard Spencer talk and he's just not very persuasive.
no, no. They need to work on that.
Well, that's the thing. Like I don't think I think they've kind of topped out. Like I don't really think they're ever going to find somebody who's ever going to really drag their movement forward for them. And
Right.
besides which, the other thing is with them is that they their followers are really fucking like mean and corrosive, and they will like for example, like if I had like an alt right guy on my channel, for example, people kept challenging me to have this one guy on my channel. It was like a few people that he was with, and I won't say who he is, but it was an alt right person, and he
Mhm.
wanted to come on my channel. He wanted to debate me, and I said the reason I'm not going to fucking debate you is because I know the second I do, you and your followers are going to come to my channel and you're going to fucking try to find out who I am. You're going to try to dox me. You're going to try to fuck up my life because
Right.
I've seen that happen with the people on the alt right. They fucking do that. And so my solution in that way is to just say, okay, I'm not talking to you.
Right.
Not talking to you. You can go do whatever the fuck you want, wherever you want to. But when it comes to my channel and me, not fucking coming around me because I know I've seen you act in bad ways before. So like and the thing is with like other people, like being on your channel, I don't fear any of your followers. I've been
Mhm.
on multiple people's channels. I don't fear any of their followers. But the
Right.
issue is
Right.
with certain people, such as say Steve Shives or any dickhead from that part of YouTube or other people. It's like
Oh yeah.
I don't want them near me because they look for people to target and they
Oh
go
yeah.
after them.
Oh yeah.
So my position is to just not associate with people like that. And everyone who's made that mistake, where I've said this to multiple people, including the biggest person I warned was Kraut, and he didn't listen to me. Was don't go after people in a way where you know it's going to give them total clearance to fuck with you. He just completely didn't even bother, and he went after people in the way that he did, and then he's been gone for like 2 fucking months, 3 fucking months.
Okay.
So it's what I say to people all the time is that like
What did he do?
he just made another one. He's been attacking the alt right. And the issue
Okay.
is that it's fine if you want to make videos attacking the alt right, but the issue that he kept making was that you go on Twitter and you go on different social media networks and shit and you start just fucking with people. You just go back and forth with them for
Yeah.
hours and
Okay.
hours and
But
hours.
but then he's fucking with people.
That's what I mean. That's the distinction is that like
Yeah.
you
That's
like
bad.
depending on what you do, like if you want to talk to somebody, you got to realize that uh or if you're
I
going
mean,
to pick
I mean,
target.
no. I'm just saying that there are certain people that could probably be alt right that you could respect, like Mouthy Buddha. I don't know, is he alt right or not?
I don't know.
But like he makes really nice videos, and I would like to sort of respect him for that. Is that wrong? Do I deserve to be called out on that? I don't know. Do I?
No, I don't think I don't think it's a problem for anyone to do whatever they want. That's not really what I'm saying here. But I know that people would disagree with that, and they would say you shouldn't listen to these people. And I'm not, one of those people. What I am saying is that, for example, with Baked Alaska, who you named, like I don't have any problem with Baked Alaska, and I felt sorry for him when he got like pepper sprayed or whatever, and it caused him like permanent eye damage. Like obviously, I'm not in favor of that happening because he's just some guy that doesn't deserve to have pepper sprayed in his eyes and cause permanent damage. But he had a stream with Sargon. As soon as that stream was finished, there was people going after Sargon trying to flag his fucking channel. And that's the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Really?
Where it's like,
at this point.
That's the kind of thing. That's where I say, okay, I'm never talking with Bake Alaska. Because it's not him. It's not him. It's not me disagreeing with him or agreeing with him. It's just the fact that the people around him.
Yeah.
And it's not just him. Like, I don't even know if he's not even the most alt-right kind of guy, as far as I'm aware. Like, the people that are very much part of the alt-right, they're fans, the people around them are just like, they are the mirror version in SJWs, just in just the tactics and how, like, they are just like, in terms of how they act, are just so corrosive.
But
like,
what happened in that discussion that made them so
nothing
pissed?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. That's what I mean. Like they it's just second nature to them to act that way. And like I don't know why. I just seen it too often to ever say to myself, like, this is a side that, or a group, a faction of people. Like there are people like who are that will talk to those kind of people that are alt-light types. I'm more than willing, because I'm not afraid of any person that's part of the alt-light at all. Like there's a whole series of people that I would talk to and not have any problem with, but there's a lot of people on the alt-right where their fan base, their community is just dog shit. And the thing is that, like, it's not even, again, the difference of me disagreeing with them or the person even. It's just like there should be a respect of the difference between the person you're speaking to and the person that's hosting them or what have you. It's like, if I ever went on Steve Shive's channel, I wouldn't expect anyone from the people that follow me to just naturally react in the way that I would if he were to come onto my channel. Where I would expect the people that actually like him and follow him, they would probably say, "Oh, this Lewis guy. Well, what's his name?" Because I don't like what he has to say.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's the problem with, like, it's in the difference is, I think, is
pick up the phone book.
Well, the distinction, I think, is in terms of the mindset, because it's who you attract. It's and again, this is not, I don't even think this is necessarily the person's fault. It's just their content and how they espouse themselves as their personality.
Yeah, isn't that just something like they keep talking about, like, can't you put it into your fucking videos that you don't like fucking harassment and all that, right?
Right. Well, that's the it's the play.
Here's the thing. How about you actually put into your videos?
Exactly. That's the thing, though. They're trying to hold you by a principle that they don't agree with. That's the thing.
Yeah, that you don't want people to actually look you up and fuck with you in real life. I mean, I don't care. People can look me up. They can fucking try to do whatever they want to me online. But if they show up on my doorstep with a fucking knife, I'm going to be pissed. All right? I'm not going to care if you do that online, whatever. But if you do it in real life, there's going to be a fucking problem. All right?
Well, the issue from my perspective and why that happens is, well, obviously everyone's responsible for their own actions, but the issue is that in terms of what attracts that, in my opinion, is that it's a person that isn't overtly espousing the principles for why the listener should not be in favor of doing that. And I've explained that many times in my channel, that if you are somebody that is going to argue in any way about economics and about the ability of someone to sustain themselves, the reason why you attack them in that way, to dox them and contact their employer and that sort of thing, is specifically to destroy their life, disrupt
Yeah.
their life, so
Yeah.
that they will no longer either be there to say their opinion, or that they will have to retreat. They will have to basically go under a rock for however long it takes for them to stabilize their economic stability again, or their economic standard.
Yeah.
It's a specifically, and I put it in class terms because it is in class terms.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We talked about this another time, but Jesus Christ, why don't the fucking left just go back to talking about classes?
Because
that is what the fucking left should do. I don't care about fucking man spreading and all that shit. Just talk about poverty, because poverty is the actual thing that causes everything that is bad for any fucking race or whatever.
Yeah, it could be something, but the issue is
eloquent as I.
No, I know what you mean. You're not wrong, but it's a matter of if you accept the idea of you have to consider things from a class dynamic in that kind of sense, you're accepting a principle. And it doesn't mean that you can't at some point say, well, even with this in mind, we can still consider X instead. But the issue is that once you disregard that principle and just get rid of it, it doesn't even come up. Like, you don't even think of it, and it becomes something that instead of being something you should focus on and consider, it becomes a distraction to you because it's a principle. You don't deal in principles. You have your ideology. This is what you want to believe in, and anything that comes in that could be a principle, it could disrupt that ideology and what you believe.
Yeah. And now instead you're just talking about black people or women, or you should be talking about fucking
and there's no
poverty.
Principle you can take. Understand, there's no principle you can take with the idea of black people. Like, what the fuck can you hold to that's any kind of principle as it relates to a racial group?
I don't know.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know.
So
it's idiotic.
But the thing is that that's the distinction. It's an ideology. It's an ideology that because it's not based, it's not rooted in any principles, it just ebbs and flows. Like, there's nothing restraining it at all. And that's how you saw, like, the whole thing when it came to feminists, is that feminists, like, they used to be a real power block, but one of the great things about what has happened is that because they don't base anything on principle, they got subverted by the intersectionality. So now there's a big thing with white feminism, which the intersectional created for a political tactic or an ideological tactic to destroy, to basically remove that part of feminism.
Yeah, and you can see all those other feminists, like, just fucking trying to get on that boat before it sinks.
Yeah. Or basically they become outcasts, like Jermaine Greer, I think it is. Became an outcast because I think she is a person that says that there's only biological women, there's no trans women. So she got expelled. She's literally like an outcast within the feminist movement now. Get
the fuck out. Exactly.
No, I'm pretty sure it's her. I'd have to look her up. But...
No, I'm saying, get the fuck out. That's her. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
She had to get the fuck out.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you don't base anything on it. Because the thing is, if you base a movement or a political group or what have you on principle, you can still have a position where basically a consensus happens where somebody is judged to not be acting in a principled manner or to not be holding to a certain or basically they exist outside of the Overton window of what is acceptable within that group.
Right.
And it is defendable to say, okay, you need to either fall in line to meet these principles or you're out. And if you don't meet the principles, you get kicked out and you become, an exile.
Sure.
And that would be fine. Obviously, it's not fair if you fuck with their lives and all the rest, but
but as a principle,
because it's grounded, it's rooted in actual things that you can actually defend and argue. But with an ideology, again, it's rudderless. It's just always shifting. And that's what happened with the
Right.
left, I would say, is that the left became unmoored. It abandoned principle. It abandoned even like principle was first, the class argument was later. And now it is just in no man's land. And it's becoming ever smaller as the day passes. And the only way it can prop itself up is by churning out full-time activists in universities. That's the only way it can sustain. Or which is the most irritating part, but also the most amusing part for me, just to showcase how like whenever I put in quotations, I say it in stream or on Twitter that I'm right in terms of progressivism, is I was right about what was going to happen with progressivism. I continue to be right. I'm going to be right about progressivism in that they are selling out, and that is the way that they are going to survive.
That is a huge thing, and I think that's that's why I respect you.
Yeah, well,
because I've listened to your channel a long time, and every time you've said something, it turns out that that's true. Like a year later. So what do you like? Do you have some fucking tarot cards or
no, it's about looking at something from at least my own perspective, and I don't think I've been right on everything.
No, maybe.
What's amazing is that I didn't call it. The big one that I didn't call that I actually turned out to be right, and people can go back and listen to the stream where I was so upset about it because I couldn't believe it. That I actually called it correctly was the Trump election.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going out and saying that I think Trump was going to win, but I was saying within a small group of people that I did think he was going to win, and that I did think that this was the ultimate comeuppance.
Okay, so hold on. Everyone thought that Trump wasn't going to win. That's not really a new thing, but
I said I thought he was going to.
I know. So this is my question. Did you do that to sort of hold yourself back, or how come you didn't go out to that? Because you obviously did believe that at some point, but you didn't really broadcast it.
I think that the thing that I don't know if there's ever really one thing that kept me back from just coming right out and saying that I think Trump was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But I always grade things based on the information that I take in, and I kind of just puzzle together to see if there's enough things that it could ever push in that certain direction. Mm-hmm. And with Trump, it was definitely the case that I saw enough pieces, and especially when it came to the polling, where if you looked in certain states, that it was definitely an issue with the polling, that it was not accurate. So when people were writing off states for Hillary Clinton and they weren't actually written off, that was the thing that stuck in my mind that was different from before. And it is different. And I showed a study in the stream recently that proved it true, that there is a distinct separation between the media and the public. And the problem with the public is that it doesn't, they don't say anymore who they're voting for. They won't tell you the truth. They won't just come right out and say, yeah, I'm voting for Trump. They just won't say anything. And the media has the interest of lying about it. So that, like the Huffington Post poll.
And there was actually a word for that before the election that was called Trump shyness, right?
Maybe. I couldn't tell you, but
there was. The media was talking about it, but they didn't really understand the implication of it, because people said that they were going to vote for this or that, but what the media didn't understand people are going to vote for Trump. Yeah,
right.
Fuck off.
They'll
tell you whatever.
Yeah,
they're going to vote for Trump, and the media dubbed this Trump shyness, but they didn't really understand the implication.
Right, and they still don't. They still don't
And they
understand it.
still don't. Yeah, and
There's a lot of reason why they don't, and it's pretty much a lot on their part for why they don't want to know the real reason, because they have what they want, and then they have what everyone else
yeah,
wants,
because
and
now
they
we
don't want to
have
know what everyone
fucking
else
now
wants.
we have Russia. The fucking yep, Russia is responsible for everything.
Well, that's just a red herring. I mean, it
You
always
think?
has been. It always has been, and
It's a fucking nothing burger.
well, besides that, let me go back to my point, because the thing I was saying about the election was that the big deal to me was watching, and we did this in the stream, where we were watching the New York Times, which had basically, they were running stats basically as the election was going. And one of the things that they didn't account for, they just seemed to just not account for, were the actual states that you needed to win the presidency. And
Wait,
like,
are you talking about the stream about the election?
yeah, it like when Sargon, I, and a bunch of other people did a live stream.
I think I was one of those other people.
Were you there for that?
Yeah.
It's a while ago, so I couldn't tell you. But
all right,
during that stream, we were watching the New York Times numbers come in, and one of the big deals about the numbers coming in was that they effectively were looking at the states that had the largest population, and they were looking at the popular vote, and they were using that as a factor to decide who was going to win.
Yeah,
when that isn't the fucking means by which we elect a president.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big things that I had a very gut feeling about, because I looked at the Electoral College map, and that's what I'm naturally trained to do as someone that went to college for that specifically. And it was amazing to watch the numbers come in from these certain key states, and people saying, oh, it's over or whatever. And it's like, no, like people kept rushing to judgment. It's like, no, like you have to watch these numbers, because if these certain states actually come back in his favor, it's fucking over. And that's what happened. And I sat there and I was completely blown away by the fact that Trump won the Rust Belt in the way that I thought he was going to, because of what he was saying. And the thing is that I had that gut feeling that he was going to win, but the problem is that I didn't want to necessarily broadcast, because I would have probably embarrassed myself had I done that. So I didn't do that. But
yeah, no one wants to be an asshole.
That one was the real exception to the predictions that I've made that have actually come true. And going back to with progressives, that's another one where more and more and more articles and information and just things that are coming in that showcases that, like, when you have the Blue Dogs, which is a corporatist part of the Democratic Party that failed, and so they rebranded themselves, when they are becoming progressives and are now using the word progressives, it's like, okay, I know where this is going. And it's true. I mean, Silicon Valley backs them, and that's a lot of fucking money. And so they can.
If Silicon Valley backs them, they could call themselves anything and do anything. That's the scary part.
Right, they have a lot of power, but the issue is that I think, and this is one of the outcomes of the election that I can say based on outcome, is that they heavily overestimate their ability to influence people. That's part of the whole Russia thing, is to try to limit the influence of certain outlets.
Yeah, I mean, when you say that, that sounds stupid, but I guess that's not enough. I mean, I'm not saying that you're stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I know what you mean.
They have Facebook, they have Twitter, they have everything, and that's not enough.
No, it's not. It's not enough to win an election.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the thing. They think it is. They think that by controlling social media, controlling YouTube, controlling whatever, that's going to be enough to shape public opinion, but it's not.
That's what they thought, right?
Yeah.
They thought they could just fucking control all the social media and just dictate what we would vote for.
And their natural reaction is to do exactly as they did before. And again, that is part of the Russia shit because they one of the big things is that YouTube changed a bunch of different policies. YouTube changed policies, and it's based on that. Facebook is going to change their policies based on the whole Russia thing. And guess what? It's not really about Russia. It's about trying to control the outcomes of elections. And it's about making
Yeah.
sure that we shrink the Overton window back to Jeb Bush versus
I
Hillary.
don't know if you saw my tweet today.
Probably not. I wasn't on Twitter for
No,
most of the day.
okay.
What was it?
So basically, they have this thing in the EU today, where they have the same thing where Russia is fucking with our fucking elections. Fuck you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're doing the same thing, and
Well, that's what I mean. It's about they're trying to find the means by which to justify their control of information, and it's for multiple reasons. But one of the big things that they're having a problem with is that, one of the big things is that they, with Trump winning, regardless of what you want to say about him, they expected Clinton to win, and the fact that she lost and he won is basically them. It's them as the emperor with no clothes on. Like they realize that the power that they actually hold doesn't really exist. It's all practically in their own minds, and that they can't really control society in the way that they want to. Not because they're some cabal, but because they have very mutual interests, and they just react naturally to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they and that's the thing is that I expect them to clamp down on Facebook to whatever degree that they can. They'll clamp down on Twitter and the rest. But the thing is that even with those hearings, I mean, it's half of it sideshow anyway.
Before we get to that, don't you think it's funny that they actually go for the exact same thing in Europe? Like, yeah, Putin tried to make Catalonia free. Really? What? That's what you're going for, assholes?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't think Catalonia wanted to be free before Putin had Twitter?
Well, the thing is about Europe. Like I don't really know precisely where that would come from, but I do know.
You do know that Catalonia has had a struggle in Spain for more than
right.
The life of Twitter, right?
Right. I'm just talking about in terms of what would actually motivate someone to, instead of blaming, let's say, Trump, they instead blame Russia. Like, what motivates them to blame Russia?
I don't know, but that's an official statement. I just tweeted out this today. That was from the European Union. Like, apparently, Putin is trying to influence the Catalonian elections. All right, I've heard that one before. I'm not impressed. All right, assholes.
No, but it's pretty much what they're trying to do, and it's amazing to me that, I mean, that's the thing is that I would have to see a poll. I don't think I've ever been presented with a poll to say how many people, whether American or European, give a shit at all remotely about this Russia thing. But it's basically like
I would like to see that though.
Yeah, so would I, because the thing is that what they're hoping for is they're trying to take something that's purely astroturf and is just obfuscating from consecutive losses all over the world, effectively. They're trying to find the means to obfuscate that issue, because if you create an issue, like you're responsible for an issue that exists, and you want the last thing you want is for people to confront you that you are the root of the problem. And so you just come up with some kind of fucking scapegoat to distract away from it. Because ultimately, as it relates to Hillary Clinton's loss, fault lies with her. the fault lies with the Democratic Party. The fault lies with the fact that the party is no longer reflective of the people in any way, and that's why it's going out of power. And the issue is that they don't want to admit that, because that's going to limit their influence, limit their ability to get donors and that sort of thing. Like it makes them look weak. So instead, they just find something else to excuse, and the media goes along with them because they just have enough shared interests. For Europe, I don't really know, but with the EU, I'm sure that it's probably just trying to, again, just distract away from the fact that, you know, if you have enough countries pull out of the fucking EU, the EU doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, right. Okay, so just gonna do some super chats here.
Sure.
McKimmy's doing a speech, on MGTOW for. Okay, Jesus Christ, I need to get my glasses. Doing a speech on MGTOW for college. Any advice? Well, don't do MGTOW from the point of view that you hate women. Just if you want to be a good MGTOW, then just don't associate with women. Don't give people that say you're misogynist any ammunition. That would be my advice. What do you say?
On MGTOW?
Yeah.
I mean, I would just try to relax a little bit. That, you know, I don't think that most women that you'll ever run into in life are pretty fucking, you know, mundane. They don't really they're like most men. They don't really have a lot of core, you know, political beliefs or ideological beliefs. They might say some talking points, but I mean, that's just, I mean, one of the things I have with MGTOW and, you know, that kind of group is that one of the problems is that, and it's true for me too, in terms of, you know, being on our part of YouTube and talking about these things, is that we wind ourselves up into where we basically see two massive ideological factions. In the case of MGTOW, unfortunately, you wind yourselves up a little bit too much to see women as dangerous or as an opposition when you probably shouldn't. But obviously, it doesn't mean that you don't have any points. But yeah, I would just, you know, I would just make constructive points and try to put a positive spin on anything, and try to do what you can to mitigate any negativity. Don't be intentionally. If you're going to do shit on YouTube, do shit on YouTube. Don't be intentionally provocative in real life.
Yeah, yeah.
Or incendiary, not provocative, but incendiary.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a MGTOW, and obviously I have my girlfriend. Everyone knows that. So, yeah. Just be cool, dude. Just be cool. Yeah.
I wouldn't encourage anyone to like make that kind of separation in life. Like, I'm sure if like you've gone through a painful divorce, maybe, you know, wait a while or whatever.
I've talked to a lot of people like that, and they have totally valid complaints. That's not a thing,
right?
That you need to worry about. They have completely valid complaints, and they are being discriminated against. That's not a problem. We all know this.
Right, but I would say in the case of like, you know, if those are your circumstances, then maybe then, you know, have a bad reaction or whatever, although it doesn't need to be permanent. But if you're not in that situation where you've been through a bad divorce, I mean, the thing is that just take it slow, you know?
Exactly.
Don't wind yourself up too much about those kind of things.
Yeah. I mean, you put it perfectly there. I mean, if you have been through a bad
divorce or something like that, or you've been accused of something you didn't do or whatever.
If you have been through that, then be that way.
Yeah, by all means. Just, well, no, it's not even just a matter of be that way. Just, you know, share your anecdote. That's fine.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if you haven't, just try to be constructive. You know what I mean? Like if you're on YouTube, say whatever the fuck you want. But if you're in real life, like, unless you want everyone to look at you like a fucking weirdo, because that's one of my big things is that in real life, you have to do your best to appeal to people. I find that
Oh
to be
yeah,
something that's necessary.
of
If you're going to
course,
get
of
anywhere ever,
course.
you have to appeal to people, even if you don't want to, even if you think it's fake or whatever. You have to appeal to people in real life because it's necessary in order for you to achieve anything. And so, I would say if you're passionate about something, present it in the best way possible and in the most appealing way possible, because you can guarantee the people that you oppose are going to do that.
Or do
So,
it better.
or do it better. So why would you instead give some, incendiary, angry rants? Because that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you want shit to change. Like I said, if you want to bitch, go on YouTube. I do it. If you want to change things in real life, don't do that in real life.
Yeah, just go on and tell everyone to fuck off.
Because one of the things I've experienced is that if you want to encourage somebody to not say like a talking point like women are paid less than men. If you give it like an asshole response to that, then they're probably going to recommit to that position and think you're an asshole. But if you basically do your best to very slowly explain to them that that's incorrect and that that's just a talking point, but just don't, you say it in more words than just that instead of fewer words, then you'll encourage people to change. And it's the importance is to appeal to people.
And you can make people talk, because obviously if you just say fuck progressives or fuck right wingers or fuck left wingers, whatever, I mean sure, you and I could totally go down that road, and we would never talk to each other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
the thing is like on YouTube, but this is the difference.
Okay, here's the thing. People say that that's not constructive. Well, you know what I'd like to say? That's not fun.
Well, it's not fun, but the thing is that, again,
I don't care if it's fucking progressive or constructive. This is fun. I'm talking to you. I'm having fun.
But again, this is the difference. Like, if it's the difference between, again, like when you exist in the real world and you're talking with real people, social norms exist. And
sure.
if you're online, my opinion is fuck social norms. But if you're in real life, you have to at least, especially if you're trying to make an argument, if you go on a stage and you look like a freak, you act like a freak, and basically afterwards you have a normal person that just sees this person, even if it's a good argument,
right?
It could still be a good argument based in facts. But if you look and act like a fucking retard, people are just going to sit there and say, wow, look at this fucking circus freak. Look at this fucking carny. Like, this guy was such a fucking weirdo. And they won't even process a single word you say.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that's
true.
my thing is if you want to win people over, if you really want to be effective in arguments and in presenting your opinion in that, and especially, and I guarantee this because I had this before in classes that I took, you're always going to get at least one feminist. You're always going to have one fucking feminist in a classroom. So if that happens, especially in political science, so if you write a paper on MGTOW stuff and on men's issues, you better expect there's going to be a woman there. Not like it will often be coincidental. Writing a paper from the opposite fucking viewpoint, talking about how fucking women are the proletariat. So you better be outdoing her in every fucking way. And the way that you're going to do that is by appealing to the class, appealing to people, not just, here are the facts, you fucking cocksuckers. Listen to what I have to say. Like, you're not going to convince fucking anybody like that.
Oh, but so, I loved your videos.
But again, I made arguments all the time in college. I've gotten over public speaking pretty much. I'm sure I'm rusty now, but I did public speaking all the time in college. And I'm like, when I was there, I was totally fine with doing it. And one of the things I love the most was after you give a lecture, you show your paper or do whatever. After you're done, you take Q&A. You basically allow people to ask you questions. And that's what basically decides whether people say to themselves, "Oh wow, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. Man, I should look at his paper. This is pretty serious." Or, "Oh, this is some fucking retard. They don't know what they're doing." Because anytime you have somebody that goes like, I'm not really sure. I could probably just look this up. I can't answer that. But like anyone that acts like that or is an asshole, people say, "Oh, this guy's a retard. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just trying to phone it in to get a grade." But if you're out there basically saying like, "Yeah, that's an interesting point, but I actually factored that in already to the paper," even if that's a lie. You just got to be appealing, man. That's how you win. That's how you do it. So, yeah,
that's why your streams always go on for 2 hours after you say, "Okay, I'm gonna have to go now." So, like, no, can I get the question now? And then it's like, okay, 2 hours.
Yeah, sometimes, but that's a fault of the stream. That's not my fault.
That's pretty much the way it is.
I'm gonna change.
No, I love it. Please don't change. I think it's the best thing because then I know. Oh, got 2 hours. Louis, awesome.
Well, I'm glad somebody's listening. Somebody has to.
No, but that's good. Anyway, so let's see here. I gotta do some super chat here. McKinnis doing a speech. No, that was a MGTOW thing. So Mitch is the guy. I turned myself into a cinnamon Morty. I am moist, Rick.
Oh god, the fucking Rick and Morty memes. What's amazing about the Rick and Morty memes is like how it went from like actual memes because people like the show to people just hating the fucking show and making fun of it. It was so quick for when that changed.
Yeah. Pretty much. Okay, so let's see here. Anthony Vogel says, Mark Zuckerberg wants your nude pictures undoomed. I'm sure he does. And he's not going to get it. But, you know, if he wants to bend over, not be there and fuck him. Just saying. So, yeah. That's where we are. Anyway, that was interesting, though. What do you think? What do you think the probability is for those pictures getting leaked?
I guess it really depends on whether they actually go through with it. Like, I'd actually be surprised if they do this.
No. I mean, what do you mean? They've already done it.
Well, there's a difference between saying you're going to do something, even if you.
No. They've already done it. You can send it in. It's a beta, but you can still send it in, and there's still going to be some fuckhead sitting there jerking off at your pictures. So.
Well, I would say that considering there's been many entities that have been hacked over the years that are far more serious than Facebook. I would say it's just a matter of time, because the thing is that as far as I understand what happened with it, they actually do have a database. They don't they keep the picture for a certain extent of time and then they delete it supposedly.
Sure.
But it's like I have to imagine that the crazy part is going to be, if it does get hacked in, what's going to happen is you're going to have somebody that is not only doxxed fully with their address, their name, everything, doc with their fucking nude photo.
Yeah, and obviously they have the entire thing. They have the fucking photo, and you have these guys sitting there just looking at it, and they have all the privileges. They can do whatever they want because they're employed by Facebook. So I don't know what they can't do. They're almost like,
I'm pretty sure they'll have either women doing it, which will probably be how it's hacked, by the way. They'll put
Well,
the password as password. They'll have John Podesta there.
okay, so either way, let's say it's women, but um, what do we call these people? Are they called like princes, or what are the guys that are more than princes in vassal societies?
Oh, Dukes.
Okay, dupes, because we're going back to that now, people. You better realize that this is where we're going. We can't just call them people who work for Facebook. We have to call them what they are. They're dukes, vassals, and things like that. So get ready for that, you fuckheads.
It actually isn't Duke.
Nah, I don't know.
I think Prince might actually be the top one as far as I can tell, outside of the sovereign, which would be king.
Mm-hmm.
Prince, I think,
Yeah,
is the highest.
it's not really something that we have to think about. It's not really something that we have to look up, right?
Yeah, I don't think. I think people overvalue the worth of Facebook, because I know that it's not like something that's going to die tomorrow. It's not in the state of Twitter, but after enough stupid decisions, I think that eventually Facebook is going to probably collapse, or at least rescind to the degree that what is it?
You're such an
MySpace.
optimist.
No, I don't. When it comes to social media companies, there's a lot of perception of worth. It's been one of the things with the ads. One of the big things with the ads was that a lot of companies pulled out because they realized that no one was looking at the ads, no one was clicking on the ads.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. Is that like, I think there's a lot of overestimation about the worth of social media, and the fact that, like, yeah, some people might see some ads and they might click on some ads and that sort of thing. So maybe it has some worth in that regard. But most of social media is just bullshit and memes and people trying to get news. But it's like, even there, like, I think that people really overvalue it. And the fact that we're pretty saturated, that I don't think Facebook wants any real investigation into their numbers and into their accounts and into their daily activities, stuff like that, because I think that there's a lot of fucking propping up of their power in the world.
Okie dokie, that doesn't make any sense. Though. You're saying that Google will win because no one wants to do anything against them?
Google is propped up by their own parent company, which is Alphabet.
Yeah.
Google is extremely powerful, but the problem is that eventually they're going to have to. They are ideological enough now that eventually they're going to hit the crossroad of whether they go full Twitter, which they will, be basically, they will render themselves useless and unsalvageable, where they can't sell their fucking company because no one wants it, even though they have. I'm using Twitter literally right now. Okay, so I use Twitter every single fucking day of my fucking life at this point. But the issue is that, like, the problem is there's not enough people like me. That's the problem. Yeah. And Twitter can't sell their fucking company because Twitter as a company is dog shit. So Google,
they think it's just a bunch of assholes on the internet, but basically it's us.
Right, but the thing is with Twitter, I'm saying that they can't sell their fucking
company. I'm talking about Twitter. That's what I mean.
It's many different people on the platform that use it for various reasons, but it seems to me that it's coalescing between people that meme or are posting shit about politics. That seems to be where it's going. It's memeing or that.
It's not really those people who talk about race and
No, but that's
Intersect,
politics. That's politics.
intersectionality.
But that's the thing with Google though, is that if push comes to shove with Google, if the company itself goes the same route as being like
Mhm.
Twitter,
Mhm.
then at some fucking point there is going to be another company that comes along that will overtake them.
Of
Because
course, but before that happens, they will fucking do anything to make sure that that company couldn't even go in that direction because they'll just no. There's no if you Google this thing, no, there's nothing here. There's nothing. There's nothing.
well, that's why other people are switching to different browsers and stuff now. The real issue, in my opinion, with Google, and this is the thing that's really propping them up, is Google Maps. That's one thing. They're not exclusive in that, but they're more advanced than others in that. Um, but the real big thing for them is phones and Android.
Mhm.
Those are the real big issues because a lot of fucking phones come with Google standard. And
Right.
so not only is it
Well,
in the
so
browser in your
just, just
desktop,
so
it's
just
that.
buy an Apple phone and you're good.
Right, but that's one or the other. Those are the one or the other. It's buy an iOS or is it fucking
No,
Android
but
with
yeah,
Google?
sure, but yeah, but sure, but Apple, they don't get involved. So for now, they're
Yeah, for
okay.
now.
They're okay for now. We need to keep an eye on them, but for now, they're okay.
Yeah, they're just money grubbers.
Of course, and they should be. I expect every fucking corporate company to be that way.
Yeah,
And if they're not, then I'll be suspicious.
right. But and that's the real problem with Google is that they seem to be becoming less interested in fucking profitability and more interested in ideology.
And
And
that is scary.
yeah, yeah, especially because they have a lot of money behind them. It's not like Twitter. Twitter is fucking toothless at this point. Like
Obviously, yeah, they're dying. I don't know. Will they even survive or?
I don't get that feeling. I looked at Twitter from the perspective of the way they needed to survive, and they know this too, is to
Mhm.
sell. They need to sell the fucking company to somebody else because what they need to do, this is what Twitter needs to do, is they need to sell the brand effectively and the
Right.
technology to some other company. The other company's going to come in and fire everybody.
Yeah.
And then from there, try to fix the brand in the ways that they can to support the people that exist now and try to slowly get people on the platform, which I'm not 100% that it will happen. Twitter doesn't seem to be getting more popular.
Yeah, but the really sad part is that everyone wants to be on Twitter. We just can't.
Right. People, well,
That's the
yes and no.
that's a really sad part.
Twitter is a lot smaller than people realize. It's
Sure, but it's getting smaller every fucking day because they ban everyone.
right, right. But I don't know. Like even with that, I don't know if they had another company come in and stop doing that. I don't know if that would somehow turn around where you see say 58 million new people join. Like I don't know if that
No,
would even happen.
no, maybe, but don't ban everyone that you have. How about
Yeah,
that?
they seem pretty gung ho on doing that. But that's what I mean. Like they make their own platform so um uh, impossible, just needlessly obtuse in the way that you can use it because you have to jump through every hoop to not use certain words, not get on the bad side of certain blue check marks,
Mm.
etc. Like it's
I
such an
I mean,
obstacle course.
this is a funny thing. I got this thing the other day. Like, why aren't you fucking verified? Um, I never actually applied, you asshole.
I
I
did.
okay, maybe you did, but I never did. People are like, why aren't you fucking uh, verified? Like that is some sort of argument.
No, it's just I get. I mean, it's kind of like just a status symbol on Twitter. It's really all it is. But the thing is, like I've
Yeah,
run into
but
people.
I've never even applied. Why are you talking to me about this?
I don't know, but other than the
Have you
status,
have you actually applied for it?
yeah, I have. I've been rejected.
Jesus, why?
They didn't say. They just
No,
rejected
no.
me
Why did you apply?
because I wanted the blue check because I wanted to put verified leftist in my bio
Okay.
because I thought it would make me laugh every single day that I open Twitter. Because I would then be a verified leftist, and there would be no question when anyone would say like, "Oh, are you sure you're even on the left? You sound conservative, motherfucker." I am a verified leftist. I am a verified
Okay,
leftist.
that would have been awesome. That would have been
Oh
awesome.
man, it would have been a source of endless fucking amusement for me. I'm sure most people wouldn't care, but every single fucking day I would get on Twitter and say to some effect, "I am a verified leftist."
That's probably why Sargon tried to do it.
Oh, he tried and failed too. They rejected him outright as well before they
Yep.
banned him permanently.
Yeah. That's probably why he tried it. And you tried it. They didn't want it.
They didn't ban me yet, and I'm actually surprised by it. I'm pretty surprised at this point they haven't banned me because I usually
don't
tweet some
jinx it, man.
incendiary shit.
Don't jinx it, man.
Whatever. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Sargon said in a video earlier today, he said that he's effectively happy that he's been banned off of Twitter because he's more effective now. And maybe that's what I need. I just need somebody to finish it. I just need to get off fucking Twitter at this point.
Obviously.
And the only way that's fucking happening is if they ban me.
Well,
so,
Jesus.
Jack, if you're listening, do it.
No, but I mean, it takes up a lot of fucking time.
Yeah. Well, it's just because it's addictive for me. Like I always want, like whenever I'm like doing nothing and I could otherwise be doing something like effective or practical or something that's worth my time, I'm always like, you know what? What's a funny fucking meme I should tweet out? And I'll just think about it for like a couple of minutes, and then I'll come up with something, and then I'll just tweet that out. And it's like in the time that I could have been doing, something productive, I'm thinking about what fucking dumb meme I should tweet out on Twitter.
Oh man, that's bad, man.
All I know is that if fucking Jack ever verifies me on Twitter, I will fly to fucking LA or to San Francisco to thank him.
Well, okay. Did you ever actually apply though?
Yes, I did. I was in the process.
Okay, you did. Fuck. Okay, I'm sorry. I think you actually said that before.
Yeah, I got denied. They literally sent me a thing saying that they denied me.
That is fucked up. Jesus Christ. I didn't actually apply. I haven't applied at any time because I know that you
won't get accepted.
No, I will never get accepted. And I actually looked at the thing you had to fill in, and I was like, okay, fuckheads, I don't even have to do this for the IRS. You're asking for more information than the IRS.
Yeah, they do.
No. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. I think, is it that or something else? I think they actually want like a driver's license with it. And I actually did that, I think. I think I submitted my driver's license. I don't care. Yeah, I don't fucking care, bro. I want it.
Okay, you're horny. But yeah, they want the driver's license. They want everything. They want, Jesus Christ. I don't want to give you these things. Jesus Christ. I wouldn't even give this thing to the IRS. Never.
All right, I'm going to tweet to Jack right now to please make me a verified leftist. So,
okay.
So there.
I suppose I shouldn't do anything. I don't think I could do anything to help you at this point.
No, you can't. I don't think there is anything you can do. The only person that can help me is pretty much some progressive retard Jack knows or Jack himself, because he does read these fucking tweets.
Right.
I have seen some weird shit about how like you would expect like Jack to never read any of this bullshit. I swear to God, he does read some of these tweets.
That's good. That's good. Then we should tweet him more.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much what you can do on this platform. By at some point, it's just gonna be like 100,000 fucking journalists with 100 followers, and it's gonna be me.
Yeah,
So at some point, he has to fucking recognize me.
exactly. Like, are you aiming for this? Are you aiming for this to be just Twitter? People that just are journalists and only journalists. That's it.
I
No,
guess. I mean, those are the people that I do see verified all the time, including people on the right, although they always
yeah,
complain they struggle to do it.
it's just journalists. That's it.
Yeah.
Journalists all over the place. Okay, all right.
It's always amazing when I run into people that are verified, and this
Are
happens
you
still to
saying
me.
that Luke Skywalker would have been a journalist?
Yeah.
I mean,
Everyone who's decent in society would have been a journalist.
seriously, come on.
They've I think they have verified fake or not. Well, they have verified fake accounts, but they've verified fictional characters. Which I have to find it, but I've seen at least one where it was a fictional character. I'm like, what the fuck? How can you verify a fictional character?
Yeah, that's just to verify someone for not doing something.
Yeah. Well, it's just because they have connections. It's just, they want people on their platform talking about innocuous shit.
Yeah.
So they'll verify like whoever they think is innocuous, but the people they don't. The other thing I can't stand is they verify people, and it was one of the reasons I think they may have turned my thing down is because I gave them my real name instead of my pseudonym, and one of the things they say you have to use your actual real name to be on Twitter. That's one of the things they argue. If you want to be verified as Louis Le Vau, you need to be him. You can't just say you're him. The thing is, I've seen endless fucking accounts with just gibberish names, and they are verified, and they're not they're not the person. Like they.
Yeah, that was the stupidest thing they could have ever said.
Yeah,
Who the fuck said that? I want to retweet that fuckhead.
I have no idea, but that's their policy is they want you like that was one of the things I think they gave a problem with Sargon. Was that he used Sargon instead of Carl Benjamin. But the thing is that he was willing to do it, but they just rejected it anyways.
Of course. What a fucking idiot.
Yeah, Twitter is a company that has reached a point of ridiculousness that I don't think they're ever going to be able to bail themselves out of it. I think it's kind of over.
No, we're way beyond that, but it's interesting to think which way they'll go beyond that. Obviously, no, they'll die, obviously, but it's interesting to think about. Okay, are we talking about like going to a thing in sort of a movie directed thing? Like, hello. No, okay. We're talking about the movie director, or yeah. Or are we just letting it die? Like,
No, they're gonna let it die. They don't have any plans. I mean, they increased they talked about increasing the character limit for fucking like years, and they just did it randomly one day.
Yeah, but they just did it right now.
Yeah.
So what's up with that Orwell, huh?
What about Orwell?
I'm just thinking, like, Orwell? Is that related? I don't know. Does Orwell have anything to do with the more extended character level on Twitter? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it's them flailing because they realize their company's failing.
Okay, sure. I'll totally accept that.
All right. Well, I we're gonna have to wrap this up, unfortunately, because I have to finish 2 reports that have to be in by 7 o'clock today.
That is the
So
best comment ever. Whenever you do a video, it's always like, yeah, now I've got to do a report.
yeah, well, I blew them off yesterday when I really shouldn't have. So I gotta, and most of today. So I gotta take care of them before
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
morning, or I get emails.
That's the best. That's the best thing ever. So obviously, I would like to thank you very much for showing up. And even though
Sure.
this sort of a interesting stream where we did a lot of really nice stuff and some really stupid things, and I think we had a lovely time.
Sure.
So thank you very much, and I'd like to do this again.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and hope to see you next time.